we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Very much appreciate earning your ears for tonight's show as we got a good one. Marquis Williams will be here. We're going to learn about him having some aliens in his life. Yeah, he got aliens. He got some aliens. So that's what we're going to get into. Dirty Fylth is here as well in order to draw us another great cartoon. Visit filthy.com. And check out his website as well, where you can get his book and his calendar and everything like that. But first, let's say hello to all of you out there. Samantha Hazelwood Gray in the gold medal position. Midwest Night Watchers takes home a silver. Les Paul Holland, always grooving a tune. He's in the bronze medal tonight. We have Roy Boy and Race Fan coming on in. And we have Jessica Penny Van. Nice to see you. And Rui from Portugal is back. Rui is going to be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Lisa C. and Michael Morris, thank you for coming on in. Sweet Susie B. and Para Marv, how are you? D. Cohen, my man, how are you? Good morning, Tracy Scott. Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Loves his spaced out radio. Good to have you back, Mr. Cowley. Ufologist and Kathy Evans, nice to see you. Grandizer, Kurt M., Nikki in Seattle. Human Carl is here, not to be mixed up with Alien Carl. Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you so much for your service, Human Carl. We love you around here, my man. Steam Train Mark in Australia. Am I alive tomorrow in the future? Please let me know. Logan L., nice to see you. Third Rock, good to have you back. Deb from SAC, how you doing? Thurston Howell III and Brown Dwarf, good to see you. W. David Page and my man Millennium, how you doing? Chillgasm is here for the first time ever. Chillgasm's going to be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Donna C., looking sweet. And who else we have? Pixie Lara. Amy, Vegas. Oh, we love her around here. She's such a beautiful soul. And who else is here? Oh, wow. There he is. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Deb from SAC, thank you so much for kicking off this super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. And who else we have? Sensational Sherry has returned. And there's Luscious Jules. And who else do we have? And B, Robert Lamoth, thank you for coming on in. The lovely Kira, good to have you here. _ Maddie and Dirty Fylth in the chat room. Forrest Louie, thank you so much for that super sticker. Great way to support our show is through the super chat, so thank you so much. And there's Vaughn Patrick, the pride of Edmonton. And who else do we have? Stu Gerson. Yeah, big bad Stu Gerson. Hold on, let's start the radio side so we can unlock the doors and let Bill WD40 into the Spreaker chat. Bill's going to lube us up for tonight's show. And Video Game Zombie, good to see you. And who else are we rocking here? Jenny, love you, dear. And Lurks a lot, good to see you. And where are we here? Digger Dog, always a pleasure. Pink Volo, Lily Pond, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Chili Peen. Amber's Paraworld, how you doing, Amber? Hope you're well. Blue Cruise, nice to see you. Ozzy Sue, thank you for joining us. And let's see, where else are we here? Jenny Girl, good to see you. Evan Walters, you pissing me off, man. Just pissing me right off. Noble Patrick, thank you for joining us. Holy cow. I am Pam. I am Pam. See, I've got the note. I am Pam. You're not Pam. I am Pam. I'm Pam. I am so much Pam that I am Pamerific. Pamerific. Super Chat is open. The store is open on our website. I am Pam. And get your horns up. Let's rock. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the Bumblefoot, check out the Newswire, and you know what? You can check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A great show for you tonight about reality of UFOs. Marquis Williams is going to join us here momentarily and talk about his aliens. Yeah, he's got some aliens and UFOs, and it's going to be a good one tonight. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Swamp Dweller's got another spooky story for us. Super Duke returns for the Crypted Report, and we'll try and squeeze in some news as well. Tonight, we take a personal journey about UFOs and ET contact. Marquis Williams is here to share his story. Growing up in New Jersey, Marquis started having experiences that were unexplainable as a kid. The occurrences continued when he moved over to Pennsylvania as an adult. Now, after having encounters with both UFOs and extraterrestrials, Marquis finds himself on a quest to find out what's going on with him, and more importantly, what's up with the entire phenomena. It's a mystery that we all want to try and solve. Marquis Williams, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic, and it is a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
It is a pleasure to have you here as well. And we also want to announce to our audience right off the bat that Marquise, you're going to see him around Spaced Out Radio a lot more, because he is actually going to be joining our After Hours crew with Brent, Danielle, and Big Tex Nick to be a part of the weekend crew on After Hours. And you know what? The first time I met Marquise, I fell in love with this guy. Literally fell in love with this guy. He's a storyteller. He's professional. And you know what? He's one of us. He's one of those experiencers that just needs to get his story out and learn about what's going on. So, Marquise, I really appreciate you joining the SOR team as well, my man.
I'm excited about that. That's probably the most exciting thing I've ever been able to announce to my family and friends, and now my audience as well. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely, man. So let's learn a little bit about you. Where did you grow up, and how did you get involved with learning about UFOs?
So I was born in Trenton, New Jersey, actually, one of the worst places in the country. And I grew up in Manalapan, New Jersey, and Lewistown, Pennsylvania together simultaneously. My father lived in New Jersey, my grandmother, and my mother lived in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. And so I grew up between the two of those places. My first experience was in New Jersey, as a matter of fact, when I was a teenager. And that's when everything pretty much started for me. My entire journey about the paranormal and about what's more to life, and whether or not this is just a physical, experience with our meat sack, or if there's more going on out there. I really wanted to know. And my first experience with the phenomenon was with a disc. I was at my grandmother's house in New Jersey, and I was laying down in bed, and it was the middle of the night. And I woke up because I saw these bright lights outside of the window. Now, the window at my grandmother's house in this room was almost the entire wall. It was huge. It was like one of those windows that took up almost literally from ceiling to floor the entire wall. And when there's a car that parks out front there, it will beam its lights through the window. But this night, it was so bright. It was almost like there were several cars, or maybe there were police. I thought maybe the police were there for some reason, because my grandmother rented out half of her house to other people. And so I got up and I walked over to the window, and the curtains were white. Some of them were see-through, but there was a solid white curtain that I pulled back to see what was giving this super, super bright light. And I noticed at the grass, there was this cone at the grass on the ground. And the bottom of the cone, I just stared at for a few seconds and thought, that's kind of weird. And then I followed the cone to its source, which was just above the tree line in the backyard. And I noticed as I followed the light up, it got smaller and smaller until it reached its source. And the source was a freaking disc. Now, I'd never seen anything like this in real life. You hear about flying saucers and UFOs, and we've all heard about those things. But at that age, I never thought I'd ever see one. I thought maybe it wasn't real, or it's just like you see ghosts. People say they see ghosts, and never thought this was real. But this was real, and I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't dreaming. I was awake. I was wide awake. I saw this thing, and it was hovering and wobbling like this, really slowly. I wasn't scared. I was just curious, and I thought to myself, wow, that's really weird. That's a disc, my grandmother's backyard. And as I thought that, the light started to slowly move towards me, towards my body. And as it slowly moved towards me, I just followed it back from its source on the ground and watched it move towards me. I didn't move. Again, no fear. My only thought was, that's just really weird. And when the light finally got all the way up to my body, it hit me. Not hard, nothing painful, just like a push. And I just blacked out. I woke up, and it was several hours later. It was the most bizarre thing. No explanation. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know why it happened. But after that happened, I got up, and it had been morning time at this point. The sun didn't rise just yet, so you can still see the color. The sky was still turning light. And I got up and I walked to the kitchen. And as I walked to the kitchen, my grandmother comes into the kitchen. My grandfather comes into the kitchen. My cousin who lived with us, she came to the kitchen as well. And then my uncle, who doesn't even live in the same house, he lived in another part of the house. She rented that part of the house out to him. He comes up into the house as well. And we all stand there, just standing in the kitchen. Don't say a word to each other. We don't say anything. We just stand there. And then there's an ambulance that comes from down the road. And we all just disperse and go back to bed. Now, the crazy thing about that is this house was in the middle of the woods. It was literally called Woodville. We're in the middle of the woods. There's no one around. And somehow there's at this very second, we all wake up at the same time, go into the kitchen, and an ambulance comes down. Somebody probably died. Because in that moment, we realized something happened. All of us experienced it, and nobody knew why. And whenever we all went back to bed and got up a few hours later, I asked my cousin, I said, did you wake up last night, or did I dream that? And she said, no, we did. And I told her my experience, and she said, oh yeah, grandmother saw an angel hovering above her bed. And in that moment, there are too many bizarre coincidences for it not to be something And not just me that experienced it, my whole family experienced something, and my grandmother experienced something even more phenomenal than what I think I experienced. And that was a hovering light that she thought was an angel over her bed. The most bizarre thing.
Now, considering Grandma thought this was an angel, obviously you come from a religious family.
Right. They're
And
Christians.
so the fact that you're claiming you saw a UFO, Grandma's claiming that she saw an angel, how did this conversation go about?
It was casual. It was almost like, oh, we saw somebody yesterday, or you I don't know, you went to the store and you saw an old friend. It was just casual, like nothing. To me, I was blown away. But even my cousin, who's a complete disbeliever, not anymore. She just was like, oh yeah, Grandma said she saw an angel above her bed. My grandmother, she explained it like it was nothing to. It was like nothing to anybody but me. I was the only one who thought, you guys have got to be more like excited about this, but nobody was. It was just me. It was bizarre.
Well, okay, so how weird is that you're seeing two different things?
Right.
You're seeing a light coming from a disc craft.
Right.
Grandma is seeing what she believes is an angel of a godly being. I mean, this is just incredible, but it's part of the way that the phenomena seems to play with us.
Yes. Yeah. Even more. So, when I first started studying the phenomena, I thought it's just about craft, physical, discs and cylinders, and now tic tacs. Now, I didn't think of the orbs or the idea that people think about ghosts. There's a lot to that. There's poltergeist. There's the Skinwalker Ranch. There's Bigfoot, which to be totally honest with you, I thought was nonsense. I feel bad that I thought that now. I feel really bad because people think that now that I do this, now there were people that thought that I was crazy. And for me to think that there are other people that have experiences of crazy is disrespectful. I've been humbled by finding out that the Bigfoot is part of it. Then there's the angel experience. There's light beings. There's so much to this phenomena that you can't limit it to just craft, to just UFOs. It's so much bigger than that, and it's all connected. And of course, the government knows about that.
Very much so. So you were how old when this encounter happened?
I was about 13 or 14 at the age when my first experience happened.
Wow. And how did that change you? Like, how did you talk to your friends about that? How did you talk to your teachers, your coaches, the people who are close to you?
Very interesting question. So before that experience, I mean, I was always kind of a strange guy. I like to read a lot. I like to study and try to understand just things. And I did dabble with, astral projection and meditation and things like that as well. So I was always a weird kid. But when I started to talk to my friends about it, they accepted that I had these experiences. I had really good friends, not a lot, but the ones that I had were very respectful to me and my experiences, and they accepted them and believed me. My family, however, not so much. They didn't really believe anything they thought that was just crazy. This is a kid who's just making up things or not misinterpreting his experiences is what they thought. Because I also saw a demon one at my grandmother's house as well.
Oh my!
And that was a totally. It wasn't nothing that hurt me, or it just something that I called it a demon. I should be clear. I don't know what it was. It was a tall, and this is a really bizarre thing. It was a tall, horned, creature that had this really strange grin. This really sharp, pointy teeth, and its grin was really, huge, man, ear to ear, Joker type grin. Now, here's the thing about this creature, okay? When I used to wake up at my grandmother's house in the middle of the night, I was afraid to go to the bathroom because I would see this creature, and this thing was fast. It would run and instantaneously from one side of the hallway, and my grandmother's house was rather large, because she had built upon it, to the other side of the hallway where the bathroom was around the corridor, around the corner there, and it would be instantly. As soon as I would walk just to where I was about to turn the corner, it would be there, and it would just wrap its fingers around the corner. These really long fingers, red fingers, and it had these horns, like at the top of its head, two of them, and it had that big smile and those beady eyes, and it would just smile. And it wouldn't hurt me or do anything. It would just wrap his fingers around, look at me, and smile. And I was terrified. Now, here's the thing about this. It was bad for me. Now, when I got older, I told my daughter, my oldest daughter, about this creature. I described it. That we talked about life and whether there's more going on. And she asked me these questions about ghosts and demons and all this stuff. And I talked to her about what I think and my theories, and keep your mind open and don't be closed-minded, be open-minded and learn. And after I told her about this experience, a few months later, my daughter comes running to me and says, Daddy, I found your demon.
What?
Now my first thought was that this thing is tormenting my daughter. And that's what I thought. I thought, oh my gosh, what did I do? Did I bring this into her life by talking about it? Is it like following me throughout my life? What did I do to my daughter? But no, she was on YouTube and someone drew this creature to the T, exactly as I described it. And it was on freaking YouTube, and it was tall, it was fast, it had the beady eyes, the long fingers, the really big grin, and it just was like it would like move instantaneously on YouTube. My daughter found it. That's the kind of stuff that makes me realize that, what do you like? How do you convey that to someone in a credible way? Because I can't capture it and say, hey, here, look, here's a creature. But it's an experience that not only did I have, but somebody out there had and posted on YouTube as well. So, I'm freaking out thinking about it right now. So I apologize if I get a little excited about it, but it was bizarre. It was bizarre.
That is intense. Has that demon ever come back to you?
No, I haven't seen it. I've never seen it since. Never seen it since I was a kid. I think maybe, I've protected myself from those kinds of things that are scary, with a mental block, so to speak, because I don't want to have those experiences. And I think just like as I've learned more about the phenomenon and about my life and about life itself, our consciousness does bring things into our reality. And what we open ourselves up to, if we're not strong enough mentally and spiritually or whatever, it can be disturbing if we don't understand what we're experiencing. So I haven't experienced it at all. I've mentally blocked that from my mind since then, so I didn't have to experience it.
I do want to ask you something about it.
Sure.
Here's this creature staring at you, and you're staring at it, and it's not attacking you or anything, but it's giving you that real sinister smile.
Yeah.
What goes through you when you witness that?
My thought was, I was worried that it was going to hurt me. Is it going to bite me? Because its teeth were so freaking sharp. Its mouth was so big. And I just thought, is it going to hurt me? Or is it going to is it going to stand in front of me and get really close to me? My biggest fear was more that it was just going to get really, really close, and I would be overwhelmed with terror. That was my fear. And I didn't, more than it hurting me was the terror that I would experience, because I always believe that these creatures, whatever they are, they don't necessarily cause physical harm. They just have an effect on our life and our experience. I don't feel like they hurt us necessarily. I don't know though. That's just my experience, so to speak. So.
Oh, that's just so wrong, man. That is so wrong. We're talking with Marquis Williams tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got 5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Marquise, so, at this time, you're a young man, going through your teenage years. You've had a UFO experience. You've now had a demon staring at you, giving you the sinister smile with giant teeth. At what point did you start questioning your own sanity on whether or not you were seeing what you were seeing?
Well, the point that I got to where I started questioning my experiences and whether or not they were real was when I astral projected for the first time. And I haven't done it since because I didn't like it. And I saw a shadow figure. So this is what, this is the kind of stuff that makes you, it really opens you up to believing that there's more than what we see on a day-to-day basis. There is more. But I did question whether or not maybe it's in my head, maybe I'm going crazy, maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe I have schizophrenia, but it wasn't persistent. These experiences, if they were schizophrenia or a sickness, that sickness would bleed into other areas of my life. I maybe wouldn't be able to be as functional as a person, or at least there would be more prevalent. There would be more of them. But they weren't. They were just fleeting experiences. They were only once here, once there. It was like sometimes. And a lot of times they were initiated by my meditation or by me trying out something from the occult, these spiritual practices, these mindful practices that I wanted to know what we could do, what the limits of my human experience could be. I initiated them. So I realized that it wasn't psychosis or schizophrenia. It was me opening myself up to these experiences. So I don't think I'm crazy.
No. And the fact that your first experience happened with your grandmother, had anybody else in your family seen that demon?
Nobody's seen it. Nobody else has seen it. Not that I now here's the thing. They don't talk about it. They're not as open to talking about those things. They never were as I was. So it's possible they did, but they never described it to me. So I don't know. I don't know. My grandmother's the only one that's had experiences, and hers have always been positive. She's always had positive experiences.
So why do you think that part happened to you?
I think that whenever being untrained, but still, especially as a kid, trying to open myself up to these experiences with volition, with no experience, no knowledge of how to do it properly, was probably why I had the negative experiences. Now, the UFO one, I don't know why that happened. I think that's separate from like the shadow figure and the demon figure. I think that is separate from the UFO experience because I didn't do anything to initiate that. That just happened. That just happened to me. I don't know how. And that was just the first time. The second time was even more bizarre.
Okay, so here you are, you're a young man, you're going through all of these experiences that most of your friends and your counterparts have no inclination of what you're going through. But you're already admitted that you're the weirdo of the group, which I like, by the way. I can enjoy that. At some point in your life, did it start to become a little bit more frequent? So we got about 90 seconds to go.
As a matter of fact, it lessened. And the reason is because I had been afraid to have the experiences because my mind goes to a dark place. I realized that just something about me, fear, is a very dominant feeling of mine when encountering these experiences. So I have put up mental blocks to protect myself from them since I was a kid.
Explain mental blocks.
So I do a lot of affirmations and a lot of mindfulness training and a lot of meditation. I have for quite some time. And I try to create, as they say, create your reality. Now we can talk about that later on. What I found out about that, if you'd like, but I realized that if I were to focus on something and really put a lot of intention and emotions into it, I can literally create almost anything that I want to in my life to come. Now I'm still subject to life, right? We all are. But for the most part, I can still bring things that I want into my life as well. And I wanted to protect myself from those experiences. And so I do this thing where I just tell myself positive things. I give myself positive energy, and I imagine that I have something protecting me, like an energy shield, so to speak. I know this sounds crazy. Please forgive me for sounding crazy, but it's like a protective bubble. So
right, Marquise, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to learn more about the experiences of Marquis Williams, the new addition to the Spaced Out Radio family. He'll be joining our After Hours team on YouTube, and his UFO experiences and some alien experiences when we return. The second half hour coming up next. All right, there we go. Good start to the show. Hi, Chairman Meow. How you doing? And I am Pam, by the way. Dirty Fylth What you got going on down there?
Oh, New Year's cartoon.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. How's the cats? How's Blob?
Blob's great. Whiskey's grumpy. And the gremlin and the gargoyle are doing excellent.
Erlam, Australia, welcome to the SOR chat for the first time. Look at you joining us right there. Look at that. Glad to be here, man. Glad you're here. Sweet Donna Spencer, how you doing? Good to see you. And, yeah. Pam says, nope. I am Pam. Pam, you're not Pam. I am Pam. I am Pam. Diesel Girl. And Asimov, how you guys doing? TMI Kevin, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. I am Pam. And thank you, Steam Train Mark, for letting me know I am alive tomorrow in the future. Made it another day. This is why I love having listeners on the other side of the world. Let me know if I make it till tomorrow. It's all that matters. I am Pam.
I am Pam. That's great.
You're not Pam. I am Pam, Marquise. You're Marquise.
I'm not. No.
I am Pam.
I'm just thinking that it's hilarious. I think that's hilarious. It's great. I love it.
Or as Duke says, Pam, I am. Half Johnny, how you doing? How's the other half? Uh-huh. Did Chad go on strike? Who's Chad? No idea. Charlie Wempe, how you doing from Louisville, Kentucky? That man makes a great baseball bat. Good old Charlie. Who's not Pam? You're not Pam. Hey, Pete Leibel, how you doing, buddy? I love this audience. W. David Page is claiming, no, Dave, I am Pam. You know, that's kind of stuff that can get you blocked around here, W. David Page. I can get you just blocked right there, maybe timed out. I'm Pam. Hi, Chris. Teen, how you doing? Still trying to figure out why you got the gap in your name. Right on. Erlam, Australia, long-time listener, first-time caller. No, first time in the chat room, saying that we're his go-to show for relaxing. Love it, man. Love it. Thank you that you're here. Appreciate you. YJ Overlander, how you doing, buddy? Did you get a bunch of rain up there today? Oh, Pixie Lara, that's going to get you banned. I had Taco Bell yesterday, and I thought of you. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I appreciate that. I haven't
had a solid meal in a year.
You know what? I feel bad for you. I do.
I got used to it. I mean, I had, for the first 2 months, I was depressed. I would too. But it hasn't affected your hair and beard combination. That's the main thing. It's
hi,
Obi
Flet. My man, Obi Flet. I can't wait to see you again in a few months' time in Vegas, my man. Can't wait. All right. Oh, you got rain. Mine's fine. Yeah, dude. Same thing here. The lovely Amy WC saying hi, weirdos. Oh my God, Terry, are your horses okay, Terry? All right. We have 40 seconds before we're about to go live. Hey, Dijon, my troll, where are you bitching about the commercials, man? Where are you? I need some trolling. Thank you to Deb and Louie for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And so thank you so much. Also, you can do some shopping at spacedoutradio.com and grab all your swag there. And let's kick things off. Dirty Fylth, you're looking good. And let's get going here in about 3 seconds. I am Pam.
Mm-hmm.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Really appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Marquis Williams, UFOs, demons, aliens. This guy has experienced the phenomena firsthand, and he's here to tell you his stories tonight, which are creeptastically awesome. Marquis, thank you so much for joining us.
It is a pleasure once again. Love it.
I got to ask you, here you are, a teenager who's going through all this stuff, and I don't know how I would react at 15, 16, 17, 18 compared to how I reacted when my experiences started at 38. I'm a more rounded person, not just physically, okay, at 38 years old. And here you are having to deal with this while dealing through the pressures of high school and friendship and dating and cars and everything else that kind of goes along with that. I mean, explain to me how you were able to put this on your shoulders. Was it stressful for you?
I'm not sure how to, the best way that I can answer that is that when I take an approach of like a scientist. I'm curious more than I am afraid. Even though I have a lot of fear. I'm very curious as well. If it's not going to kill me, then I want to know what's going on. I want to understand why. So I spent my time converting that fear into just a search for understanding. So it's not necessarily that I wanted to run and hide or that I wanted to stop the experiences because I was afraid. I just wanted to know why they were happening, what's going on, and what they were. That was the most important thing. What is this? What's happening? Why is it happening? So I went to the library and I spent all my time reading. And I mean if I was out of school, I was at the library. I needed to understand. I read books about everything, the paranormal, about ghosts, about demons, about UFOs and aliens and anything that I can get my hands on. I needed to understand what's going on. And that's how I took that experience, and that's what I did with it. I studied.
Okay, so at this point where it became an addiction for you in studying this phenomena, were your parents or your grandma concerned about what you were starting to deal with?
No, see, remember when I tell you that I was weird, like compared to my peers. I wanted to have deeper conversations. I like to have spiritual conversations. I wanted to ask questions about the universe, about life itself, about why we're here, about what people think about, about what we are. What are we? What are we? I know we're human, but is there more than that? Life after death? I was already weird. So when I talk about these experiences, they just accepted it as, oh, that's just Marquise. It wasn't necessarily that this is odd or that he's, should we be concerned? It was like, no, that's just how Marquise is.
But they weren't pushing you in front of their reverend or their pastor or anybody like that.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
How did you express your fear?
My fear was expressed through I was into martial arts, and I would train and train and train. And then of course I would read. I thought that if I could protect myself physically and mentally, that I would be okay. And so again, that's where the studying came into play. I thought that knowledge was a real power, that understanding was real power. As a kid, right? You think you could be a wizard, or you could be, whatever. You could be, at that age, I was watching cartoons. I could be a Super Saiyan, right? So when I was doing all these studies and all the training, I thought that I could somehow be powerful enough to protect myself from the experiences. Of course, it evolved into something more mature and realistic. But that's how I dealt with it. That's how I took it and changed it from just fear to I will overcome this. I will protect myself from this. I will be strong enough to at least defend myself, again, mentally and emotionally and physically from these things. That's how I saw it.
So did you feel you were maybe surrounded by spiritual warriors that were helping give you this strength?
I felt more like it was up to me to protect myself. Like there wasn't anything out there that was going to protect me, because if there was, then it would have done it by now. I felt like if I was going to overcome these experiences and overcome these demons and these shadow figures and whatever else I was experiencing, I needed to be strong enough to protect myself. I didn't think for one moment that there was anything out there protecting me. I didn't feel that way. Not at all.
So you felt alone.
I did. Yeah, I did. No, I don't think,
Okay.
I don't know if I was, but that's just how I felt.
Okay. So you make the move to Pennsylvania after things slowed down in your life.
Right.
When did it pick up for you again?
Well, it was when I was about 24 years old. I went through a pretty bad breakup, and I had my first two daughters, and I was staying at my cousin's house. And my cousin was a big UFO guy, but he was into David Icke, I don't know if you're familiar with David Icke or not, but reptilians.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's a reptilian in his world.
Right. And that's what my cousin believed. He believed that everybody was a reptilian. He would sit down and he would look on TV and he'd be like, yeah, that's a lizard. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. And at this point in my life, I had left all of that behind, UFOs and meditation, and I left it all behind because I had children now, and I needed to focus on that. I needed to focus on getting my life together and my profession. I was a fitness trainer. I needed to focus on that. I couldn't focus on any of that all those other things. But I had already developed a pretty strong understanding of the field and how to study it at that point, and he liked that. And he was writing a book, and so he wanted me to kind of help him out with the writing because I was pretty good at linguistics. And I did, and I dabbled in that again. I read some of the books that he had in stock. I read some of the material that he collected over the years. I didn't agree with a lot of the things that he was looking into because I don't think everybody's a lizard, or that the moon. I mean, the moon might be an artificial object. I'm not sure about that one, but I don't think that it's suppressing our kundalini. So there was some discrepancies between our belief systems, but it was interesting, and that's when I had my second experience around that time. So
take us through that. Did you know something was going to happen that day? Did you have a feeling leading up to it?
I'm not sure why you asked that question, but that is a very good question because so that day, the day that I had the experience, we were working on his book that day, and we were talking about reptilians and all this David Icke and spiritual experiences that he was having and all that stuff like that. The problem is that I had fear. I was going through a really bad time at that time in my life. And so I don't know why, but I was laying down in bed. It was about 11:30 at night. I'll never forget this. I remember looking at the clock and thinking it's 11:30 because I thought they're coming tonight. And
wow.
I don't know why I thought that, but I slept in the living room at my cousin's house, and I looked up. And I'm going to try to describe this. I hope it's a good description. The living room, the kitchen, the dining room, and they're all open. It's just an open space all the way through. It's a small apartment, right? And in the back, the front door, there was where the living room was. I was laying on the floor right by the front door, and through the kitchen, through the dining room, there's a door at the other side of the house. That was a glass door you could see through, and through that was a sunroom that you could also see through. It was a glass as well, and it's okay. Sorry, it's a little scary. So excuse me for kind of in this moment kind of getting a little scared about it, but there was this feeling of terror, overwhelming terror that I can't even describe to you. It wasn't fear, it was terror. And I thought, they're coming. I wasn't thinking about them. Why are they coming tonight? Now, I always reflect on this moment and I say, you know, why did I think that? Did I have more experiences between now and the time before? And I know that, like that thinking about them makes them come and they just wipe my memory and I don't remember it. Like, I don't understand why I had that thought, but I did. And I looked up and there were 3 of them. And they went straight through that black glass door, that back glass door. They didn't open a door. They didn't move anything. They just went straight through it. And they were not walking. They were hovering. And they were doing it really slowly. And when I say they, I mean small, maybe 3 foot tall, big head, massive, large black eyes. These aliens, the gray aliens, they had these really tight, like something just fell in my office. That was weird.
I heard that.
Yeah, that was really freaking weird. So they were hovering towards me. They had these really like gray suits on, I like body suits, just one piece. And they were hovering towards me, and I kept thinking, I wasn't thinking about them. Why are they coming? And I was begging, please, not tonight. Please, please don't do this to me. Please, I'm not ready. Please don't do this. And then they slowly circled me, and they slowly tilted their heads down to me. And the reason why this is freaky is because they had that freaking large head and those big eyes. And it was like they were right in front of my face, and they said, don't worry, we won't hurt you. And I looked at the clock again. In my head, they didn't speak. They had this slit mouths, the tiny little noses with like little holes, just like holes for noses, a slit for a mouth, no lips, just a slit, and no ears. And they said, don't worry, we won't hurt you, in a soft voice. And then I blacked out. It was like blinking, and then opened my eyes, and it was 3:30 in the freaking morning. I have no idea what happened to me to this day. And I refuse to get hypnotic regression because I'm terrified of what I might remember. I don't want to remember. I'm not ready. I'm just not ready yet at this point in my life to recall what happened to me either time. But that was the second time I had that experience. And I was not sleeping. I know what sleeping is. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't having a lucid dream. I can do that I can lucid dream on purpose. I know how to do that. This was real. This was real. So again, I don't know. I don't know and what do you do with that, right? As an adult, especially, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to tell someone now? I didn't tell anybody, not until I met my fiance. I didn't tell anybody after that. I wouldn't say. So
the fact that you had a few hours of missing time and you had these aliens in your room hovering around you, giving you the telepathic message that they're not here to hurt you. I know what that message is like personally, except I woke up on the table. And it is something that is freaky. You can't explain. You can't understand. Nobody knows what you're going through unless they've gone through it themselves. I mean, at any time during that process, have they given you any glimpses into what happened once you blacked out?
I've seen nothing. Now, the thing is with me, I have a really, really good ability to forget. Like, if I don't like something in my life, I will forget it on purpose. It's just a defense mechanism of mine, so that I can protect myself emotionally from my experiences. So I think that subconsciously, even if those memories are supposed to bleed out, they won't, because I practice so often. Please refrain from combining the page. That's a great. I love those pictures. Even if they are supposed to bleed out, I'm afraid of what I might see, so I protect myself from that. I won't allow myself to remember. Not yet. I'm not ready. I just don't think I'm ready yet.
Okay, that brings up an interesting point, though. Why do you feel that you are not ready? What inside of you is keeping you from learning what happened?
I think that I have too much. Remember, I said earlier that there's a lot of fear within myself. I think that until I can overcome that fear within myself, then I will misinterpret my experiences, and not have an accurate view of them. I don't know what these beings are. I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know why they're here, why they came to me. I don't know I don't know any of that stuff. And I think that until I am ready spiritually, mentally, whatever that part of my being is, I don't think that I'm ready to even know what those experiences are. I wonder, for one, am I karmically ready to remember, right? What if I do it before I'm ready? What will happen to me? Will it affect me negatively? Will it give me, negative mental damage for the rest of my life, like some people have, or they go crazy because of how they interpret their experience? I don't know, but I don't want that to happen. I can't afford that to happen. I have a pretty big family. What would happen if I were to lose it, or to be affected so much that it changed me from who I am? I would rather be ready than not be ready and something bad happen to me.
Okay, but is there a fear of knowing that they may have done something to you?
Oh, of course, absolutely. I'm afraid that what if they, like, you mean change me, for example, or you mean like experimentation, or I'm afraid. I mean, I've heard some stories, man. I mean, I've heard some horror stories. I've heard a few good ones, right? I've heard some beautiful, I drove their craft, they show me their civilization stories. That's wonderful. But I've also heard people's screams as well, remembering their experiences, them fighting off the beings, the way they look at them, the way that the Greys are not the only creatures sometimes during the procedures. Sometimes it's even scarier creatures that are not friendly looking. Not that they aren't friendly, but they just don't look friendly. What would my brain do if faced with those things? I don't know. I don't know. So,
Gee whiz. We all wonder why we are chosen for these type of experiences. For you, have you been able to figure out what you have to offer the phenomena as to why it's chosen to kind of come after you a little bit?
that's actually a good question. My kids, they think that they're kids, right? They all think that dad is a superhero and stuff like that. But they asked me, because I've talked to my kids about it. I've told them about my experiences. No fear, right? Tell them this is what happened, kids. It's something's out there. They asked me, because of how I think about the world, do you think they changed you? And I wonder, because I have an increased level of intuition. Not like I can see the future or that I can read minds, but that I have this understanding of people's intentions and the motives behind why they do what they do. That sometimes isn't always as clear as I'd like it to be, but it's just different. And sometimes I can't figure out why everyone else doesn't see it. Like, why don't you see this thing? But it also gives me an edge in helping people see things within themselves and change things for themselves as well. It's actually something that I'm well known for. I'm well known for being able to see things in people they don't see themselves and help them change it. See things in people, see how they can change it, and help them notice things in a way that's not so jarring, that they need to change and help them through it. And I don't feel like it's something that I've learned, I feel like it's just something that I have. I also have this this uncommon belief that the world should be better, that we should be much more loving and compassionate and empathetic towards each other. And that's another thing that I sometimes don't understand why everybody else doesn't have. Like, I feel like we're all human. Why are we not treating each other better? And I have not grown up thinking that. My family did not teach me that about that level of empathy that I have today. They didn't teach me about the idea of a utopia where we love each other and to make a better society. And I know people say that we should love each other, but I mean truly love each other. The type of forgiveness that's talking about in the Christian Bible that Christians don't follow, right? The kind of forgiveness where you turn the other cheek. I believe in that. The kind of forgiveness, the kind of acceptance and understanding where if somebody is different than you or not like you, or where there's evil, for example, you give them a chance to change. You know, that kind of forgiveness where a soldier asks you to carry his rucksack for 1 mile, you carry it for 8. That's in me. I just believe that's how we should treat each other. We should sacrifice so much more for each other. We should be more altruistic and again, empathetic for each other. I wonder where that came from. I wonder if they instilled that in me, if they did something to my brain where my mind just sees the world and humanity that way. Sometimes I wonder if that's what they did to me.
Do you think, though, like, were you a more, let me rephrase this. We got 2.5 minutes to go. Were you a more hardened type person? Because, like you said, you grew up in a very rough neighborhood of New Jersey. You had to have that chip on your shoulder in order to keep your head on a swivel, whether it was gangs or whether it was just roughhousing around or crime or whatever it may be. I mean, do you think you had to go from that hardened person seeing these bad things almost on a weekly basis, if not more frequent, to going where you are now, where you are now allowed to feel like a human being again?
I think so, man. I think that, well, when I grew up, I was much different. Trust me, my friends told me they were, when I first showed myself after these experiences, they always say, who are you? Like, what happened to you? You changed. Like, you're completely different than what you were. I didn't use complex vocabulary. My vocabulary was very simple. And I didn't try, even though I read, I didn't try to be intelligent. I just tried to be like everybody else. I tried to fit in. I tried to be, as hood, so to speak, as I possibly could, because I didn't want to be the weirdo that they said I was. But again, something changed. Something just changed. I think, yes, I think they did affect me in that way. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you think you got affected for the better then? Because you sound like somebody who very much loves himself, and I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean that in a very gracious way.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I don't want to misinterpret the phenomena in my experience, because I could say it's bad, right? They took me without my permission. They scared me. They terrorized me. I could say all that, but is that really what happened? Like, is that all there is to it? It can't be, because look at me. It didn't mess me up. It made me this, I think. I believe it made me this, It gave me a yearning to seek truth and answers and understanding, and to be compassionate and to look towards altruism as the answer. So, yeah, definitely.
When we return from our break here at the top of the hour, we're going to get more into the second encounter with aliens and UFOs with Marquise. We're going to find out what he thinks now that he studies this phenomena quite frequently in trying to figure out what is going on in the world around us. Why are people having sightings? What does the government know? What are they holding back? Marquis Williams, hour number 2 on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. All right, my man. We are clear. Dude, that was phenomenal.
I've had some experiences, man. I don't even. I've again. I would used to be afraid to talk about them, but not anymore. Not anymore. Because I'm not the only one who's had experiences. So.
Oh, true that. True that. Dirty Fylth, how you doing down there, Pumpkin?
Oh, you know, drawing cartoons, painting them now, doing that kind of stuff.
We're going to turn it over to you here because you need to tell our audience about your website, your calendar, your book, and what you're going to be handing out in Vegas. I'll be right back.
Well, if you go to filthy.com, you can scoop my book or my calendar. I got a whole bunch of interesting stuff I'm going to bring to Vegas. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin the surprise. But if you find me and hunt me down, I will definitely 100% give you some artwork. One of a kind. Nobody else will have one. Unless, of course, you trade somebody art cards or whatever. I don't know. You can do whatever you want with them. You can even use them as a coaster if you'd like. How's your night going, Marquise?
Fantastic. I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here. I seriously, I love your artwork. I love your artwork.
I appreciate it.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been drawing cartoons my entire life.
I'm not surprised. It makes sense. It makes sense.
I used to.
You're so fluid.
I used to draw a lot more realistic art, and then I just kind of noticed there wasn't a lot of that Ren and Stimpy, that slapsticky cartoons. So I kind of took that into my own hands, and well, John Kersfalucci is one of my favorite artists, so that's a big influence. And then I was just kind of drawing UFO stuff one day, and I was listening to a show about Randy Kramer, super soldier, and then I found Spaced Out Radio, and Dave interviewed him, and I thought, this is pretty cool. And then I asked Dave if he wanted a picture, and he's like, really, you want to give me a picture? And I go, well, did Bob Bigelow own Skinwalker Ranch? He's like, oh, right on. So I mailed it to him. Then I did another one, and he goes, hey, you want to draw cartoons for us once a week? So I've been doing that since like 2019. I just realized that right now. It's been quite a while. And I left a bunch of my pens at my mom's house. That's all right. Excuse to go back and bug her.
You love your mom?
Oh, yeah, I love my mom. I love my grandma, too, and I love my dad. I'm a mama's boy for sure.
So am I. Trust me.
I'm not afraid to admit it. You only get one mom. And I know a lot of people that don't have their mom anymore.
I lost my father, but my mom is still here, thankfully. Thank God.
Sometimes I know my mom works. Sometimes I'll phone her real late at night just to wake her up. She's like, Klaus, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing, Swindlin? She's like, I'm in bed. I'm like, just wanted to tell you I love you. Bye. And I hang up.
My mom was one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. She seriously is. She was just like, she was if anybody were to tell me that she had a pretty bad life, she had a really bad life, a bad upbringing, even from what I remember, she had a bad life, a rough life, growing up and raising me almost exclusively by herself. But she somehow still showed me that she loved me. I never thought my mom didn't love me. And given our history and our experiences, and hearing other people, my friends who don't have a loving family, a loving mother, I think that I got lucky. I got lucky with my parents, and my father loved me as well. But he died from some really bad stuff, so he's
I lost my dad, and my grandma and grandpa lost 2 of their 3 sons from stupid things, we'll say. And yeah, but nonetheless, I appreciate what you're saying. I understand. I'm lucky to have a family that's relatively close knit, even after all the weirdness that we've all been through and everything.
Yeah, you are lucky, man. If you have a good family, especially a tight family, you're very lucky, blessed, so to speak.
But yeah, I grew up with my mom, Edmonton housing stuff, which is like the poor man's townhouses and everything. So I was always appreciative for everything she always did for me, and I never got Super Nintendo or N64 at Christmas time or anything. It's always like, and everybody had RC cars, and I was the guy with the one that was attached to it by the string, and you did put 6 batteries in it, and
Wow.
everyone's going off ramps, and I'm walking behind it. Oh, jeez, that's all right though.
Hey, I mean, I got lucky. I got my the Game Boy, the original with the black and white, no color yet. You know, it was my first
26 Shades of Grey Game Boy.
I had, yeah, man. That's it. You were, and I played Pokemon a lot.
Oh, I still got my Pokemon Blue.
Hey, that's Pokemon Yellow was my favorite one because you could have all of them. You could have Charizard and Blastoise and Venusaur and Pikachu.
Look at Dave just shaking his head.
He's
What are these teenagers talking about?
You guys
Damn
are like
teenagers.
nerding out here.
Can I take a
I
bathroom
love
break?
you guys. Yeah, we got about a minute here.
I'll be real quick. It won't take that long.
All right.
Hi, Dave.
Thank
How's it
you
going,
tonight
Dave?
Good, Dirty Fylth. Glad you're here, buddy. Thank you to Deb, Louie, Cat Chaser, Deb again, and Pam Harris. I am Pam, by the way. Hi, Amber Dawn Glover. Good to see you. And everyone else who's come in a little bit late. Here comes the second hour right now.
Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Resorial. Resorial is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Hour number 2 with our guest tonight, Marquis Williams. Marquis is going to be added to our Spaced Out Radio team on the weekends on our YouTube channel, the After Hours Show. And we're glad to have him joining Grant, Danielle, and Nick. It's going to be just a power weekend with Marquise as the addition. And we figured, you know what? We'll let him tell his story here on the show tonight. And an incredible series of events in his life have transpired. I mean, here we go from UFOs to demons to aliens. And Marquise, thank you so much for telling us your story tonight.
Of course, absolutely. At this point, I love sharing my story because I know that I'm not the only one. I know there are other people out there who are afraid to talk about their experience, and I want people to know you don't have to be. By sharing my experience, I hope that helps.
I think it will too, man. I really do think it will. You know, the key is here. I mean, you've had this alien experience where they came floating on in. What was your second extraterrestrial experience?
No, that was the second one. Sorry, excuse me. That was the second. The first time was with the disc. Was with the disc in my grandmother's backyard. The second was with the beings that came through my. Now, again, I've had other experiences that I didn't see anything, but they were just the overwhelming fear. I've had the smell of. I know it's going to sound weird, but sulfur. I've had before. I've had that persistent smell of sulfur. I've seen the shadow figure before, and I mean, when it comes to experiences, I've had dreams that are too. I don't know. They're just too. There's something to them that I can't explain, but I know they're meaningful. They're some kind of. I feel like they're some kind of contact. And that's why when I heard and learned about the idea that consciousness is involved with this phenomena, I wonder how how else they've affected my conscience or my consciousness. Because there's something more than just the physical nuts and bolts, for sure.
Okay, so with that, and I apologize for getting the two
That's
confused
okay.
there.
No, it's okay.
With that, I mean, this has now put you on a journey of trying to figure out what is going on. Other times when you think, or maybe you were dreaming, or you had anything, were you ever woken up with scars or scratches or weird dreams that kind of left you in a lurch, wondering what was going on?
There's one experience that I'm kind of embarrassed to tell because it's going to sound weird. Not that anything else I said isn't weird. But one time when my father was still alive, and this is again in New Jersey, I woke up and I had this weird like hair on my arm, and it was like brown, like a dog, like dogs, like I don't know, like this is brown and orange color, like a brown orange skin, but it was a patch on my arm, and it was stuck to me. It wasn't like you get, you have maybe your arm is sticky and you get hair on your arm. It wasn't like that. It was like a patch of hair that grew on my arm. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, something's wrong with my arm. There's like hair on it. And my dad was, he's my dad's grew up in the hood, So he's like, what is this, boy? And he tried to rub it off, but it wouldn't come off. He tried to pull it off. It wouldn't come off. It didn't hurt me, but it was just a growth of hair, like a dog on my freaking arm. And he joked, you turn it into a werewolf. And for 15 minutes, he's scrubbing my arm with different things, with a wash rag, with, paper towel, with just different things, until eventually it just fell off. It just slowly started to fall off on its own. I have, again, what do you do with that? I don't know what it was. I don't know why it was there. I don't know where it came from, but I had that weird growth of like dog-like hair on my arm. Like, like I just say a dog. That's the only other experience that I've had that was so notable, so bizarre. And it was shared. My dad saw the experience too. Of course, he's passed now. But that was one of the weirder things that I've ever experienced as well.
What happened to the hair?
I don't know.
To the hair?
I don't know. It was just gone. It was almost like it turned into such a fine particle that it just was gone. Like sand. I don't know.
That is strange. Very strange. And you're not a werewolf or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of. Or am I? No, I don't feel any different than before the hair, but that I've heard other people, and again, this is why I feel like it's wax on, wax off. This is why I feel like it's important to talk about my experiences. I've heard other people talk about experiences themselves where they've had changes to their behavior, or they've had changes to their body, or they've had marks, or they've had medical, I know you've read about people who've had medical things taken out of their body, and like metal that's not from Earth, that when tested isn't anything that we have here on Earth. That and all of a sudden, sometimes those materials disappear. They give them to doctors and they disappear. There is that I believe was a Harvard professor who was putting people under hypnosis, and he studied the abduction phenomena. And some of those patients that he studied also had objects removed from their body that were left behind from whatever the experience they had. There were people that say they were pregnant. And this is why I feel like it's important to respect everyone's experience. I didn't used to believe this, but having my own experiences and then learning that if I want people to respect me and mine, why would I not respect other people's? Hearing women say that they've had experiences where they believe they were pregnant, several months pregnant, and that something came and took the baby away after it was a few months old, or that they had eggs removed from their body and taken. And then later on, they were shown children by these beings that look like them, but not exactly like them, not exactly human, but they knew that they were their children. What do they do with those experiences? Who do they tell that's going to believe them? And how do they deal with that possibility that they have children somewhere out there that they'll never be able to hold in their arms and raise and love? That's I can't imagine. I can't imagine. So
it is, it really does open your mind up to many different possibilities of what is going on with the phenomena and why. For you, as you now continue more as a researcher, trying to find your own answers, whether it's from the government, whether it's from listening to other podcasts or watching documentaries or whatever, what angle have you taken in all of this? Where do you lean towards?
that is a good question. It's also a tough one because, on the one hand, the government has been pushing this threat narrative lately. That's the new thing. And I respect why they're doing that. I really do. I mean, come on, they're the U.S. government's job is to protect national security. They need to protect the people. And the U.S. is big on their military budget, their military spending. So if they want to take the approach of this is a threat to national security, to be totally honest, I don't care. As long as they're investigating it and they're giving us the information and the intel, doesn't matter what they say it is. The phenomenon is going to do what the phenomenon wants to do, and there's nothing we can do about it. Whether they can play this game where they're going to come, they could come and they could kill us, which I don't think they're doing, by the way. But even if they were, what are we going to do about it? What's the government going to do about it? We're, as Gary Nolan said, we're hundreds of technological revolutions behind them. What can we possibly do if they are hostile? Nothing. So I think I'm just going to wait and reserve my. I don't think that there's any hostile intent from these beings, but I think that there is more to the phenomena than just nuts and bolts. I think it's a spiritual thing. I think it's a consciousness thing. I think it's the future beings. I think it's ancient. What do you call it? Now Atlanteans. I think it's possible that whatever that civilization was, which we have discovered remnants of their civilization under the sea. We have found that all over the world. I think it's part of that. I think it's intergalactic. I think it's interdimensional. I think it's all of it. I don't think it's one thing. I think that whatever it is, it's many things. I am also open to what Jacques Vallée says, that it's possible that it may be, and I'm not a scientist. I trust what the scientists say, but I take it all into consideration. I also trust what the experiencers say. But Jacques Vallée says that it might be one phenomena expressing itself in multiple ways that we understand it, that we may be able to accept it. It could be that. I don't know. Nobody knows what it is exactly. But all of these things are part of the phenomena. All of it. I believe it is all part of the phenomena. I believe that Bigfoot is part of the phenomena. Of course, that he might be traveling through dimensions, because people say they hear and they see things and all of a sudden he's gone. They'll see him. They'll capture it. He's been captured on film. I mean, your introduction has a video of a Bigfoot walking in the forest. Now the question is, when it disappears in the forest, how can it possibly, something that big, just disappear? It happens all the time. And there are people all over the world talking about it, this creature just disappearing. Where does it go? It can't just disappear unless it's possibly traveling through dimensions, like some researchers are suggesting. It's a lot, and I'm still developing my perspective, but I do think that whatever the phenomena is, it is more than just one thing. I think it's many things.
And I agree with you. I think it is many things, and it always makes me wonder. And this is kind of the road I have taken on this. This is why I tell our audience, I don't believe we are under a disclosure movement. I believe we are under a confirmation movement, because we're not going to get the truth. We are not going to get the nuts and bolts of what happened at Roswell, or how many crash retrievals are sitting in the hands of the United States military or Lockheed Martin or any of the defense companies that are out there. I don't think that we are going to get the truth about many stories out there that's what disclosure means. telling us all of about what is going on. And for people like you who've had an experience, me who've had experiences, and others who've had experiences, we're all sitting here saying, well, just give us the goods. We need the goods. Show us the juice.
Well, I think that when it comes to disclosure, I mean, I think you're right. That was an excellent. I'm gonna have to quote that because it's like a confirmation movement, not a disclosure movement. I think you're right. I think that what the government is doing is it's confirming that there's something to this phenomena. I think that people, though, whistleblowers, I think people within the DoD, well, people no longer working with the DoD and the Pentagon, like Louis Elizondo. I think that private industry, like what TTSA is doing, like what now, there are some researchers, there's a new UAPX now, which is a conglomeration of a bunch of different scientists from different fields that are working on collecting data on the phenomena themselves. I think that is going to be part of what I guess part of what we can call disclosure, because I don't think the government is going to tell us, oh, by the way, we have a craft and this is how many we have, and we've been working with Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works and all these other people with this technology. But I do also believe that we've already had disclosure, Dave. I don't think that. I mean, come on, we've got John Ramirez coming out and telling us about the CIA and the structures of the CIA as it relates to the phenomena and how they've investigated the phenomena. We've got Richard Dolan, who has been working on talking about and investigating how national security works with this phenomena and how they've been keeping this secret, but also people who have been trying to say, hey, there are craft, there are bodies, there are beings. There are so many researchers that are coming out today, and scientists like Gary Nolan who are coming out today saying the CIA has come to me and asked me to investigate the effects of the phenomena on human biology when in contact with craft. I mean, what do we? I feel like sometimes what do we need? Like, I don't need. I think for me, I've got more than confirmation. I believe disclosure has already happened by people like I said, Gary Nolan, by Richard Dolan, by John Ramirez, by Louis Elizondo, by Christopher Mellon, after the new law has just recently passed. And Christopher Mellon writes a piece on giving confirmation about the Eric Davis, memo, which again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with that one, whether it's true or not. It's the fact that it's something that's being discussed publicly and confirmed by someone as prominent as Christopher Mellon. We've got, Leslie Kane writing articles about life after death and about UAP and about her. Again, what do we need? What do we need? Disclosure is not happening,
I think disclosure happens for each and every one of us individually.
Right.
But the confirmation of knowing that the people that called us lunatics, the people that called us stupid, liars, heavy imagination type of people, maybe you need some help, people who lost friends, people who've lost jobs over any type of the phenomena. I think those are the people who are looking towards the government to give them some sort of closure and resolution.
Well, listen to, Commander David Fravor and Ryan, I believe it's Ryan Graves, I believe his name is.
Yeah, Ryan Graves.
They are two pilots. David Fravor is a Top Gun pilot. I mean, this guy's got patches out the wazoo for his accomplishments within the Navy as a pilot. And they talk about these objects that are performing in ways that defy physics. They do things that if it were possible for a physical object to move as fast instantaneously as they do, it would tear a hole into the fabric of our atmosphere and burn up everything on this planet because it's just tearing through our atmosphere. Moving at 80,000 feet in the air down to 50 feet above sea level, that would, think about the effects on the craft itself. It would tear apart. It wouldn't be able to sustain. It wouldn't be able to maintain its structure. It would just break apart. It would disintegrate. When an astronaut, lands a spacecraft in a space, it's meeting resistance from the Earth's atmosphere, and it's essentially it's on fire. And these objects they're not encountering any resistance whatsoever. They're defying physics, which makes you wonder, how are they doing it? And that's confirmation that this is real. And whatever people are experiencing, it's real. And I think that, this confirmation movement is going to give validation to people that have experienced things that are so bizarre that talking about them alone has lost them everything. Everything.
Oh, absolutely. So what is your quest then? What is your personal quest moving forward here as we continue on with your own wants and needs?
I believe that it is my duty at this point to let people know that don't want to believe, that are having a hard time accepting what's happening to the human race. I believe it's my duty to help them transition from that disbelief, that position of disbelief, to a position of acceptance, that there's more going on to the experience in this life than what they think. Because it's going to be, I think that the idea of disclosure being so jarring for civilization, that's why they haven't told us, so to speak, is it could cause a chaos and a panic. I think it's up to us to try to help with that transition, because we have already accepted it. And think about whenever you had your first experience. When I had my first experience, it was jarring to me, but I was already interested in what else is out there. A lot of people aren't. They don't want to know. They're too afraid. Even to this day, I've had a conversation with people who want to know. Hey, tell me what you know now that you're studying it, investigating it. What do you know? And when I give them just a little bit, they're scared. They're scared. So I think it's up to us to help them through this transitional period of, as you say, confirmation, but eventually and ultimately disclosure one day. That's my goal. My goal is to create content, to have conversations, to talk about the phenomena, to normalize it for people. To normalize it.
And that's a huge one right there, Marquise, is normalizing this conversation. You know, for many people, like I look at my dad, where my dad knows what I do. He knows what I talk about. And no matter what, he has zero interest in this. I have friends who have zero interest. I think we've all lost friends because of this subject matter, and the idea behind it, even if it's in the mainstream news, there are certain people who don't want to take a conversation past Coke versus Pepsi.
That's funny. I went, my fiance is a wedding planner, so sometimes I help her. Not that she's the powerhouse, by the way. When I say I help her, I move things for her. And the last wedding I went to, there was this kid. He was a photographer, and he said, and he asked, "What do you do?" and so on and so forth. And I said, "Well, I'm a podcaster and a voice actor, and I do all these things." And I showed him some of my videos. He's like, "Wow, that's freaking awesome, dude! I love UFOs. I think that's so awesome. Do you think aliens are real?" Of course, yeah, of course I think they're real. I just think there's a little bit more to it than that. Oh, tell me all about it. 10 minutes into the conversation, he's terrified. I didn't try to scare him. I just, there's so much more, but people, as much as they think some people think they want to know, they hear people say, well, what if aliens are real, why don't they just land on the White House lawn? Those people who think that if it were real and they were told the truth, they would accept it. They wouldn't. And they don't want to know. Because every time I have that conversation with people who ask me, I always find out the same thing. They don't want to know. They would rather talk about Coke and Pepsi.
Very true. Very true. We have Marquis Williams for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And soon, starting the first week in January, or the first weekend in January, you will hear Marquis on with Grant Baker, Danielle Borzin, and Nicholas on the After Hours show on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. We have more coming up on the Mighty SOR and your questions as well from Marquise. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good answers, my man. Good answers.
Thank you, man.
Gone fast, eh?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I could do this all day long. I feel like I feel like by the end of it, I'm gonna feel like there wasn't enough time.
No, there's never enough time, man. There is never enough time. Excuse me. No, never enough time. It just doesn't seem to work that way. Let's see. Dirty Fylth is done. What has he got for us here?
That is so awesome, man.
Let's put that up there and go like this. Happy New Year, creeps and cryptids. Got the gray.
I'm rolling dice on New Year's Eve. So I'm doing this now. Oh, yeah.
Marquise, Teddy Jam wants to know your YouTube channel.
It's Dimensions of Reality. But the best place to find me is on Facebook or TikTok. My YouTube channel is not as developed as my TikTok or my Facebook. And they are both Dimensions of Reality. Dimensions
of Reality. Teddy Jam, welcome to SOR Chat. Danny Flinker, welcome to SOR Chat. Jordan Ashley Pettit, nice to see you. We need to get Jordan Ashley Pettit to Vegas for our fan party. Her and Travis need to come.
They need to come collect free cartoons.
Free cartoons, that's right. How many are you giving away, Dirty Fylth?
I got like 90 sitting here right now.
Holy cow. Earl the Gray.
Some of you people are going to get doubles.
That's okay. That is very much okay. And you know what? That's how Dirty Fylth tips his waiters and waitresses. Dirty, do me a favor, my man. Tell everybody your website and where they can find your book and your calendar.
Everything's available at filthy.com. And you can go to Amazon too if you're in Canada, amazon.ca, and just plug in Crypted Cartoons. It's the first one that comes up. It's got Carl the Alien on the front of it, and it's green. So,
well, I want to know this, Dirty Fylth. If somebody contacts you and says, "Hey, Dirty, how do I buy one of your cartoons?" What do they do?
Just go to my website. My email's on there. Shoot me an email, and we'll hash something out.
Mm-hmm. Just that simple. For a little Dirty Fylth love. Get your own Dirty Fylth love.
I'm actually going to bring a pile of originals to Vegas, by the way.
You should.
I'm going to. Taking up space on my shelf.
It's going to be awesome. Going to be awesome. And for everybody in Vegas who purchases a Dirty Fylth piece of art during our fan party, you will also get to tap the bald head of Dirty Fylth as well, up to 5 times.
I suggest washing your hands afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. T2E says she bought 8 prints off of you about a month ago.
Holy crap.
There's big text. Yeah.
Big text. Thanks, T2E.
T2E. She goes, they are all
If you come to Vegas, I'll sign them for you. I'll probably even draw on the back of them.
Oh, T2E is going to be in Vegas. Guaranteed. She's going to be a VIP.
Okay, well,
guaranteed.
We'll make sure we get you a drawing. Or 7.
Pixie Lara wants to make a trade with you. She goes, I'll trade you one of my originals for one of yours, Dirty Fylth.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I've done that before.
My wall is lined with my kids' art. It's lined. It's everywhere.
I got a painting from Travis Mustusis. Oh, God, I butchered his last name. I apologize, Travis, for listening.
Travis is listening. He listens every night. How you doing, Travis? I know you're listening.
Yeah, he pumps out a lot of good artwork.
Yeah, if you want good luck in Vegas during the fan party, find Enzo and rub his Hawaiian shirt. He walked out of there with like $2,500.
Yeah, Vegas is bankrupt because of Enzo now.
Yeah, damn Enzo. We got 30 seconds. Thank you to Human Carl, Susie, Louie ×2, Pam Harris, Deb ×2, and Cat Chaser for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Thank you so much. You can also get your swag at spacedoutradio.com. Go shopping at our store. Check it on out if you haven't. And don't forget to hit subscribe and give us a thumbs up here. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight. We have until the top of the hour. Marquis Williams is joining us, telling us about his stories involved with UFOs and the personal experiences he has. Now, Marquise is going to be joining our After Hours team on our YouTube channel on the weekend show with Grant Baker, Diva Danielle, and Big Bad Nick. And you know what? We're glad to have him as part of our team. So we figured we'd just introduce him to you guys all tonight. Marquise, thank you so much for joining us, my man.
It is a pleasure, and I love being here. It's fun.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I got some questions from the audience for you.
Sure.
Let's go to Champ here. Marquise, did you ever get popping sensations?
I don't know what that would be. No, I'm sorry.
Like in your ears or around you? A lot of experiencers have that.
No, not that I can remember. No, that's something that if it did happen to me, it wasn't noticeable enough for me to remember. No.
All right. Let's continue on here. Let's go to Chairman Meow. How did you defend against the aliens, though? I've not heard of a way to do that.
So I don't think that there is a way to ever defend against the aliens. Whatever these beings are, there's nothing we can do about what they want to do. We can't defend necessarily against them. What I mean is I protect myself mentally. So let's, for example, say that I've had more than just those two experiences, but I believe that I've blocked my mind from remembering anything else, because if I have had any other ones, I don't remember. It would be more along the lines of protecting myself mentally from remembering the experiences than protecting myself from the aliens. Now, the other experiences, like the demon figure and the shadow figure, those experiences I did protect myself from. I believe that those experiences, I think we open ourselves up to. I think that those are done by volition, whether by accident or on purpose. And if for myself, if I don't tell myself and remind myself of that, and I say protective bubble as a metaphor, not necessarily literally, but I imagine that I have this energy, because we all have the bioelectric energy that surrounds us all the time. But I imagine that it's constantly protecting me by my thoughts, by thinking positive, by telling myself that I'm not going to have those experiences, by the affirmations and the constant talking to myself and my inner self. And that's how I believe that I protect myself from those experiences. I don't think aliens are the exact same thing, however. They may all be connected, but they're not the same thing. So there is no defending against the aliens or whatever they are.
No. All right. Let's continue on here. Let's go to Christine. Did you have any markings, pains, or other signs on your body after you were taken?
No, I had nothing afterwards. No pain, no marks, no signs, nothing.
I almost wish you did.
Sometimes I wish I had something that I could say, look what happened. Like, this is a reminder. Look, like it would be some kind of physical proof that I can say this is what happened after that experience. But I don't have anything. I wish I had something that exotic. I think maybe I don't wish I don't know. Maybe I don't wish that, but
Let's go to Little Terry Hall here. Marquise, do you recall the texture of their skin, or if they had arms like Stretch Armstrong, like rubber joints is his best description?
That's a really good question. So the best way that I could describe what I remember about their skin is that it was smooth. And I didn't not that I didn't know what it felt like, but when you look at them, they're unblemished. They have no like dents, whatever these creatures are, it's like they're 3D printed. They have no imperfections. Um, and when it comes to their arms, at least descriptively, their arms were like the full length of their freaking body. They were like from shoulder length all the way down past their knees, and their fingers were quite long too. That's what I remember about them. They didn't move their arms. You know how like when we walk, we move our arms forward like this? They were completely stiff when they moved. They didn't move their arms at all. They were just completely stiff. The only time that they moved their body in a way that was noticeable was when they bent forward. They leaned forward with a straight back and looked at me in the face.
Oh, I know that look.
That was terrible. That was terrible.
Oh, I know that look. Oh, all right. Let's go to Cat Chaser. Have you ever tried hypnotism? But you don't want to go down this road, do you?
I actually hypnotize myself often, but not in the way that you would think. I have definitely tried it. I've studied hypnotism. I've taken courses on hypnotism. I could call myself a certified hypnotist, although I'm not in my own opinion. But I've taken courses where they say, now you're a certified hypnotist. I do know how to hypnotize other people. I know how to hypnotize myself, though. So, yes, quite a bit. And I think it's probably one of the most useful things that I could have ever learned in my life.
But you still have that fear of going under, though.
So when I don't do like, okay, let's put it this way. When I hypnotize myself, which I don't do this as much anymore, it was either to lucid dream, hypnotize before lucid dreaming, so I can choose where I go and what happens to me when I go into the lucid dream, or to begin my day. For example, how I want my mindset to be, how I want to feel, what I want to feel throughout the day. I do that kind of hypnotism. I hypnotize myself to, for example, whenever I read, so that I can read and absorb more information, so I can recall more information whenever after I'm done reading. For example, I do a technique where I hypnotize myself for that. I hypnotize myself for everything. I mean, the visualization, which I think is a lot of fun. If you guys ever do any kind of visualization techniques, one of the coolest things you can ever do, especially if you hypnotize yourself into the visualization, you have a much more rich and full experience. Because you can feel, you can smell, you can taste, you can really experience fully those visualizations as well. I do things like that. That's what I mean by hypnotism. What I don't do is go to a place that I'm not in control of. I will not put myself into like going down a staircase or opening up doors. I'm not doing that because I don't know. There's too much to that realm, and I don't know enough about it to be able to do that safely. So I won't do that.
Do you have a fear of the unknown when it comes to that, when it comes to your situation?
Yes, because again, because I'm naturally fearful of many things and paranoid. My mind just doesn't go to a good place whenever I let myself go, so to speak. And to be honest, the best way to have experiences is to let yourself go. But you should not do that. I do not believe you should do that unless you are mentally strong enough and mature enough and have a really good grasp on who you are, and your place in this life and your feelings about the unknown. If you don't have a good sense and a grounding, you're gonna mess with the wrong things. You're gonna bring some things into your life that you don't want, and it expresses itself in ways that don't always necessarily seem paranormal, but they are. I mean, this life, I don't want to, bunny trail here. We are not just this physical experience. This may be the most persistent of our experiences, but this is literally the least powerful of all of them. There's so much more. Remember, we live for maybe 70, 80 years, and then we die forever. Everybody that's been dead for the last thousands of years, they're still dead. We're only here for a blink, for a flicker. And you don't want to mess with the things that are beyond. You don't want to mess with it especially if you're not ready.
Very true. Very true. Well, let's get to YJ's question. Does your watch ever lose time like 2 or 3 hours?
So that's one of those things that, like, we all have that experience, right? Where we're like, oh my goodness, what just happened to the time? The question is, how often do we have paranormal experiences where it's not just I like what I'm doing, or I've been sitting here thinking about something and now it's an hour later? When is it something more? And how do we tell? I have no idea. And I'm sure, I am certain that every human being on this planet has had spiritual or paranormal or extra normal experiences that are considered what you're thinking of as lost time. But more specifically, the encounters. I lost time. I look at the clock and it's 3 hours or 4 hours later. That's in a blink of an eye. I lost time, and I was aware of that loss of time. So, yes, and I think it happens more often than we notice by far.
I want to ask you, in regards to everything that you've experienced and everything that you learn, what more do you need? What is going to satisfy you regarding these subjects?
Satisfaction. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied when I die and learn the truth about everything. I mean, will we ever be satisfied? We're humans. We are constantly seeking more, and whether it be food or pleasure of some kind or understanding and knowledge. But let me ground myself in that question. If I were to talk to a being from, whether it be another existence, plane of existence, another realm, another dimension, and they were to give me answers to questions and tell me things that I can remember, not an experience that I won't remember. I need to be able to remember what was said and know that it was real. Then that would be enough for me. Or let's say that a government official comes to me and shows me the documents, right? It says here it all is, and they brief me on and they say, this is what we can't tell it. And Marquise, we want you to stop talking about this because this is what. Then I'll be satisfied. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, we know that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. So I don't think I'll ever be satisfied. Not true.
Well, you know what? That's something that we all have to go by, is what is the truth? What is our truth? What is happening to us? How does it all relate to where we're going and what we're doing? And I'm just trying to figure it out on my own as well. Let's get to Eugene's question here. What do you think man's primary purpose here on Earth is?
I believe that our primary purpose is it's not complicated, but I think that for humans, for some reason it is. I think we're supposed to connect. I believe that our literal and genuine purpose is to connect with each other and existence itself. Because I think that the problem with our existence is that we're so disconnected. We don't see each other as one, right? We see each other as separate. We see each other as different, as other, as not the same. We literally are we all eat and pee and poop the same, right? But somehow we see each other different because we're taller or shorter or this color or that color or from this part of the world or that part. I feel like it's the stupidest part of what we are, that we see ourselves as separate. Hope that answers your question.
It's a strange game, isn't it?
Let's go over
to Terry. Marquise, have you ever had any hitchhiker type events?
I'm not sure I don't know how that hitchhiker effect relates to those that have not been. I've only associated that with Skinwalker Ranch, to be totally honest. I thought the hitchhiker effect was just like people that experienced poltergeists or people that experienced, the Skinwalker Ranch kind of thing. However, I do understand that experience is not just localized to Skinwalker Ranch. I have never had someone tell me that because they were around me that they have had experiences as well. No.
All right, let us go over to our good friend Deb. Marquise, if they gave you the information, would you be really content keeping it to yourself?
Depends. If somebody told you, for example, Deb, if somebody told you that they gave you information, you have kids. I don't know if you have kids, but I do. I will not tell my children certain things about life because I know that it would ruin them forever. Would you tell them about the children that are being, assaulted in other countries, or people that are being decapitated by their government because they're speaking about things they're not supposed to, or people that are pushed off of buildings because they love differently, or anything else? Would you tell your children that just because? Of course not. You protect them from those things because you don't want them to live in constant fear, and then it would ruin their entire life. It would affect their development and how they connect with others. It would make them fearful to connect with others, and you don't want to ruin that for them. You don't want to ruin their childhood, their purity. Well, look at what happened with the coronavirus in the U.S. Look how people treated each other. Look at what happened with, for example, from my perspective, with the civil rights movement in the 50s and the 60s, and how people were treated. Look at the last 350 years of slavery, right? Or before, I guess it would be 400 years from now, but 350 years of slavery. Look at before that with the Jews. Look at before that. Like, come on. Like, people cannot handle basic information? They can't handle that we're all the same. What if information about the phenomena really would affect humanity in that way? It would be irresponsible of me to do that to the human race, if that were a thing. However, if it's just there are aliens out there and we don't want to tell people because we don't want them to know, then I'm telling. I'm telling everybody. Because screw that, man. You just don't want people to know? That's not a good reason. I'd have to have a really good reason to not tell. I'd have to have a really, really good reason. Like, it's going to kill everybody in the whole human race. Or else I'm telling. Don't worry, Deb. I'll let you know.
We have about just over 7 minutes here to go with you tonight, Marquise. One of the big things that I love about these topics is that we are able to really delve into them, and most of the stories that we hear are anecdotal stories of people's experiences, like what we're talking about tonight. Now, there are a number of people out there who are tired of the anecdotal stories. They want the proof. They want the evidence of video or photographs or audio or something along those lines that gives them some sort of tangible evidence that they can rely upon corroborating your story. I don't know how you're going to corroborate an abduction story, but nonetheless, it's out there. So my question to you is, in Marquise's world, what is proof?
That is one of my favorite questions. For me, right? I'm not the kind of person that I don't believe a lot of things. I need proof, right? But there are certain things that I believe that I've never had direct experience or knowledge of, because there are people that have studied those things and they tell me it's true and I believe it. For example, space, right? We believe that the Earth revolves around the sun, and so do all the other planets in our solar system. We believe that the sun is the center of our solar system. We believe that the Earth is round. Most of us, not everybody does, because scientists tell us that that's what their measurements and that our technology has shown them. There are astronauts that have went to space, allegedly. I'm just kidding. That have looked back and sent pictures back, and the James Webb Telescope now is getting readings and measurements of planets, exoplanets that have water on them. There's recently the James Webb Telescope has just now discovered that there is a planet that has 1,000 feet deep water, or 1,000 mile deep waters, and it's bigger than Earth. There is an exoplanet that is similar to Earth, but it's 1.3 times bigger than Earth that has been detected by the James Webb Telescope. There are things that I have never seen with my own eyes, but I believe it because there are scientists and there's money and there is investments put into studying and understanding the cosmos. That, to me, I think it can be applied to things like the UAP phenomena and the abduction phenomena. There are millions of human beings that say they have had experiences that are the same, and they're all around the globe. They're from different cultures. They speak different languages. They have different histories. They have different professions. They come from people in government to people that are farmers. They have people that are doctors and lawyers and teachers and mothers and fathers. Everybody from all walks of life have had experiences, and they've talked about it. I think the measure of proof is the weight of the proof, the weight of the experiences that people have. That to me is proof.
I think that was an exemplary answer, my man. I really do think that was an exemplary answer, because my argument to that is not to what you're saying, but to those who require proof. I ask them a question: what is proof? Explain to me if you know. And I'm more blue collar in the way I speak, and I say, you know what, you're not going to believe a photograph, you're not going to believe a video,
Right.
You're not going to believe my voice. What's the point in having the conversation? There's no way I can appease you in everything. You're not going to believe my video because you weren't there. And let's face it, you know, the average 10-year-old today can edit a movie on Adobe Acrobat. You know, the average 10-year-old can Photoshop a picture with on an app on an iPhone or an iPad, and it looks like you're right in the middle of the desert, you know, watching UFOs fly over. You know, so that's where I'm getting at when I say, you know, what is proof? And there is nothing that will make people happy. Nothing.
You know, this is I love this question because, again, Commander David Fravor is a pilot. He's a Top Gun pilot. Who do we respect in this world? Most patriotic people of any country respect their military. Now, not all, but the first world countries, a lot of people respect soldiers, people who give their life to protect the country they live in. And there are some of the top ranked soldiers in every part of the military, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy. You know, there are people within the intelligence community who talk about the most trained, intelligent human beings in the world that are telling us there's something here. If you don't ask them if they trust themselves, there are people with greater credibility than them that are saying there's something there. If we should trust you in your experiences with your limited credibility, why are you not trusting people with the credibility far beyond yourself? I think that it's just there. The credibility is there, right? And when it comes to evidence, credible evidence is there in abundance. The problem is they're not looking at it. They're listening to just me. Nobody credible. And they're saying, oh, I don't believe you, so therefore all I see is people like you. Pay attention, open your eyes, do the research. Don't be so lazy. How about, not to be offensive to people, if you don't believe because you don't know, I respect that. If you don't believe because you ignore, I don't respect that. I can't respect that. Would they respect it if somebody were to criticize something that they know because the person that's criticizing doesn't want to learn? Of course not. Measure with the same measure that they would measure with. That's how I see it.
My man Marquise, we got 45 seconds. Let everybody know where they can find your social media.
Facebook is in TikTok or my social media platforms, Dimensions of Reality. That's simple. And also on Spotify if you like the podcast as well. So,
my friend, I am so excited to have you a part of Spaced Out Radio's team moving forward, and on the weekends with After Hours with Grant, Danielle, and Nick. You are going to be an amazing addition to three already brilliant people, and the fact that you've decided to join our team and be a part of us moving forward and getting these great messages out to our listeners makes us that much stronger. Thank you so much, Marquis Williams, for joining us on Spaced Out Radio tonight, giving us an opportunity to introduce you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I love it.
Marquis Williams, everybody. Get used to him. He's going to be around for a while. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Then, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here with the Crypted Report. A jam-packed hour number 3 is next on Spaced Out Radio. Look at the comments, my man. Going to be a great addition. Welcome, Marquise.
Thank you.
Big
everybody.
hugs, Marquise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marquise. Well done. Thanks, Marquise. Thurston Howell III giving you some horns there.
Thank you.
You know, Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll always hit a home run for you. Good job, SOR. Esmeralda, my man Eugene, he's like a brother to me. Eugene, I want to get you back on the show in January if you don't mind. We got to set up a time. I need some Eugene love on the air, man. And people are loving you, man. People
Awesome.
are loving you. T2E, Amber. Oh, Joe needs to know, are you on Team Rock or Team Stump when it comes to Devil's Tower?
I don't know. I can't take a position on that, at least not at this point. No, that's funny. That's a funny
You
question.
probably eat breakfast for dinner too, don't you?
Sometimes.
Dude.
Because I can't eat anything else. What do you talk? My food choices are limited, my brother.
I know. I'm gonna let it slide on that one,
Thank you,
man.
thank
I'll let you go. But you have a great night, and we'll talk very soon. Okay.
I look forward to it. This is a pleasure.
All right, buddy. Much love, eh? We'll talk to you soon.
Love. Take care.
Marquis Williams, everybody. He's freaking awesome. Freaking awesome. We lucked out there. We really did. I'm going to take a quick break here. I'll be right back. You guys sit tight. We got a great third hour coming up. All right. Got just under a minute to go. And screw that. Let me put my headphones back on. Super Duke is in the hot seat in the green room. His hair looks fantastic. What a great guest. Marquise was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you tonight to Deb ×2, Louie ×2, Cat Jacer, Pam H, Susie, Carl, and Steve for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love, everybody. And hi, Search and Destroy. How you doing? Here we go, everyone. Hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rosorial. Rosorial is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we enter the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. This story is about an encounter my friends and I had at my friend's farm. To this day, we still can't explain what happened that night. My friend's mom dropped us off at their farm with our guns, bags, teepee, cooler, and whatever else we needed to survive as 15-year-olds alone in the woods. The farm is mostly pasture, with about 5 to 8 acres of woods in the back corner. There is a barn, pump house, and old run-down chicken houses in the front corner of the entrance. Now, you can't quite just drive straight to the back of the farm from the entrance. You must go between the chicken houses, through the gate to the pasture, and then back to the fence line. When we get in my friend's gator, with all of our gear, and head to set up the camp in the woods, we set up our teepee and put our bags and hunting rifles in it. We brought with us 2 semi-automatic 22s and 2 hunting rifles, bolt action. We shot a couple of pigs and traps, but didn't do anything special till night. We waited till it was dark outside to go hunt for raccoons, possums, hogs, and whatever else we could find to shoot. We hopped in the gator with our 22s, and for good measure, we sat about 30 to 40 yards back from the deer feeder, searching for the slightest noise, hoping to get a raccoon. We were sitting there for about an hour or so when my friend, in this confused tone, whispered to me and our friend to look towards the barn. At first, we thought nothing out of the ordinary was happening, but about 15 seconds later, a bright light came on, then went off about 5 seconds later. We all gave each other the same look. "Did you see that too?" My friend quickly remembered that there was a light on a power pole by the entrance. We watched from about 200 yards away as the light went on and off. We were pretty sure it was the light on the pole, but that quickly changed when the light moved about 50 yards to the right. At that moment, I cranked up the gator and floored it to the chicken houses with the lights off. We are on the opposite side of the chicken houses, and they are about 100 yards long. Now, even though I floored it over there, I was confident whatever was at the entrance couldn't hear us come, as the gator is very quiet, and you can barely hear it unless you're within 30 yards of it. They get out, and I take the hunting rifle and steady it on the steering wheel, and scope out the area to look for movement. It was dark, but there was enough light from the moon to see the barn. I didn't see anything, but as soon as I stopped looking through the scope, the light came on again. Right next to the pump house. I quickly got out of the gator, and we quietly made our way through one of the chicken houses. I switched guns with my friend, because I'm better with iron sights and I can shoot faster that way. He went behind the chicken house with the rifle and watched us through the scope as he could see everything from where he was. So, he acted as an overwatch as me and my friend cleared the barn, then the other chicken house. Then as we made our way to the pump house, we had seen the light next to the pump house before, so we were confident if someone was there, they'd be in the pump house. We got on either side of the door. I motioned for my friend to come over as he had the most powerful gun. They got on the side with the handle, one with a rifle, the other with a flashlight, and I got the other side. We all knew what we were going to do. I was going to swing the door open and they were going to sweep the room and make sure nobody was in there. I nod to make sure they are ready. They nod back. I hold my fingers. 3, 2, 1. The door was locked. We looked at each other in confusion. My one friend stays at the door with the 22 and the flashlight while I and my other friend with the rifle run to the barn to get the spare key. He lifts the rock and turns to me in shock saying the key is gone. We ran back to the pump house and tried to think of what to do. My friend and I get right in front of the door with him and the flashlight and me with the 22. My other friend pounds on the door, yelling for whoever was in there to come out, and we wouldn't call the cops if they came out peacefully. Which was a lie, of course. In Texas, you don't come onto somebody's farm in the middle of the night and hide on their property and expect to get away free and uninjured. We waited, but there was nothing. We walked back to the chicken house talking, so that whoever was in there knew that we had left. We waited in the chicken houses for about an hour and a half, each of us in different spots, split between the chicken houses. We waited, sights focused on the front door, just waiting for someone to come out. After an hour and a half and nothing, I motioned to my friends that I was going to go up to the pump house and listen. I quietly made my way up to the pump house, making sure I didn't step on the gravel. I crept up to the door and put my ear against it, my knife pressed against the door, ready to stab whoever was in there in case they tried to attack me. I listened for about 10 minutes but heard nothing really. I quietly made my way back to my friends and I told them I was going to get the gator and told them to keep watching the door. On the other side of the chicken house where the gator was an old feeder. As I got in the gator and started to slowly creep past the feeder, the grass started making noise like something hit the metal feeder with a thud and a scratch like somebody was running around the feeder to chase me. I punched it, spun the tires, and got to my friends as fast as I could. I didn't look back, which was stupid of me, because now I don't know what was there. When I got back to my friends, I told them what happened. We rode back to the feeder. 2 of us stayed in the gator, one on the side of the feeder, and the other hopped out as quickly as he could and checked around the feeder. We didn't see anything. We didn't find anything. We rode back to the camp and talked about what happened. It was now about 11 at night, and we talked for about an hour and then all went to sleep. At about 2:45 in the morning, my friend and I woke up. We both looked at each other. We were hearing footsteps just feet outside of our tent, somewhere in the tree line. I grabbed my 22, which I kept loaded for security reasons and safety reasons, obviously, after everything we've experienced, and my friend grabbed his knife. The footsteps lasted about 5 minutes, and we were frozen in shock. We were honestly too scared to do anything. We were too scared to talk, too scared to go outside, worrying as soon as we stepped out our heads would get blown off. We didn't go back to sleep for about 30 minutes or so, and it's a miracle we even fell asleep. When we woke up, my friend's mom was already at the farm, and we packed up as quickly as we could and got out of there. To this day, my friend hasn't found that spare key. We can't explain what happened that night, and I don't know if I want to. Thanks for listening to my story. I know it might not be the most terrifying story ever shared on this show, but I thought I'd share it because it was downright strange.
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, keeping us in suspense every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. If you want more, there are thousands of free stories at Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. From the swamp to the forests It's time for the Cryptid Report. Here comes Super Duke. Yeah, little Duked Out Radio here on the mighty SOR. The Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio joins us once again, hanging on out. How you doing, my man? How was your Christmas?
My Christmas was hectic because I was doing a show Christmas Eve and Christmas evening. So I was busy as bleep all weekend. Now I'm theoretically having my actual holiday. Yeah, right.
Is there ever a time off, my friend? Is there ever really a time off?
Hell no. If I take a weekend off, everybody yells at me because I didn't turn a show out. It's the only way I get a weekend off is if I do 2 weeks worth of work in 1 week so that I can have an extra show to post. I literally have to do that during the summer to go do expeditions. It's like, what is wrong with you people? Don't you want me to go out and try and film Bigfoot? No, we want a show.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you, you know, but you know what? It's a sign of the fans, man, how they love you. They love what you do. And hey, it's better than not having a show at all.
That's true. I had an interesting conversation with Kelly Shaw from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch earlier today. He's on his way to where there was a hot sighting and he wants to get there and check it out right away. So he's bored. So he gets me a call. We talk for about 2 hours while he's driving. And most of the conversation is centering around trolls and how he's learned all kinds of evil tricks from my group over there on Facebook, Montana Bigfoot Project. And my admins actually go trolling for trolls and they set traps for them and get them to pop up and make some inane comment.
Wow.
And they play whack-a-mole with them. And he said, wow, you know, since I've been watching your group, I started doing that with my groups and it worked great. I try and do it at least once a month. It's becoming like a hobby now.
Some
Got
of
to
them
take your
trolls
fun where
are
you
fun.
can get it. You know, trolls swarm to channels like we have would like to attack us. So we got to have some fun with it.
Well, you know what? Hey, we all get hit by them. We all get hit. You know, it's part of being a public figure, my friend. You all get hit by the trolls. You know, you get the nasty emails, the nasty comments. You know, I remember one time, one of my favorite troll comments was when I had longer hair. You know, somebody was making a comment that, you know, I just look like a fat marshmallow with a mop on my head. And I looked at that and I went, yeah, you know, so I'm a little obese. So I'm a little obese. Tell me something I don't know. Right?
Yeah, I'm just a dirty hickbilly that doesn't care. So, you know, it's more difficult to actually have an effect as a troll if the person that you're attacking is not an external validator and at most views your comments with bemusement and as an opportunity to counterattack in some smart butt way.
Oh, very true. Very, very true, my man. But you know what? Hey, we're allowed to have that sarcasm every now and again. Every now and again. You know, we got to be able to fire back.
I have it too much for my own good. Like when we have a huge wood knock that's so loud it sounds like a cannon shot going off, and the guy with me jumps up out of his chair and goes, "What the hell was that?" And I go, "Hey guys," and he goes, "Quit screwing around, Duke." And I went, "I'm not screwing around. I know what made that wood knock."
Oh, I hear you. I hear you, my man. You know, 2022 has been an interesting year. It's been one that has seen a little bit of everything this year. What's your favorite part about this year, my man?
Wow. There's so little to choose from. Now, this was not one of my favorite years. This was kind of a frustrating year for me because I had nothing but transportation issues, couldn't get out and do things that I wanted to do and stuff. So, you know, I mean, vicariously through other people, there's other people out there that have had some really cool stuff happen this year. You know, there's been a lot more Bigfoot sightings, especially going into the second half of the year, this fall and winter, There's been a lot more than what we usually get. And that's another thing that Kelly Shaw was talking about today when I was talking to him, that he's noticed the uptick, and there's a lot of reports going on all of a sudden. And generally this time of the year, it's a lot more quiet. They're not moving around as much. So that's peculiar in and of itself. I don't know. I mean, like I don't center on any one particular report or anything. I hear a couple dozen every day. So it's going to have to be really spectacular to get my attention. One thing that we were thinking about is why, there's Grammys and Emmys and Academy Awards and all that good stuff. Why isn't there a Footy Award for who are the best Bigfoot researchers out there? And we're thinking maybe we're going to have to actually put together something like that and have an award show every year for who we think are the best Bigfoot researchers out there. I know there's some group that does that right now. They have like 4 initials. First one's a B, but they always award it to somebody that's actually a member of their group, not to just random people that may be actually a lot better than anybody they have.
Well, you know what? Man, awards are so subjective. So subjective.
That's what I'm saying. There's not really a good award show for that at all right now. And why not just, throw our hats in the ring, and we'll have all of our judges will be like, you have to have at least 40 years experience, or you can't even be on the panel. So, and you'll be surprised at how few old guys are going to get picked as like anything luminary, because being that we've been around a long freaking time, most of the people that have been around as long as us do not impress us very much. A lot of the newer guys are doing way better work.
Well, you know what? It's the passion, right? And don't forget, the older the guys are who are researching, they also have a tougher task as well, because they weren't brought up with the social media side of everything, where they can just make everything happen and make get that information out there as quickly as possible. So it is a little bit, how can you put it, a little bit one-sided towards the younger crowd because of social media and the effects that brings.
Well, I'll give you that. I mean, they're better at doing the interface and knowing how to push all the buttons on those weird flamnagular doohickeys that make screens appear and stuff like that. But are they any better at actually getting out there and getting video and stuff? Some of them are really good at it. That's what I'm judging it on. Presentation is all fine and dandy, but let's see the damn evidence. That's the bottom line. And some of the younger guys out there are doing a really good job of collecting evidence. And again, like I just pointed out, there's a lot of the older guys out there that have been riding on reputation for 20, 30, 40 years that frankly haven't produced doodly wap their entire career, but somehow they got a big reputation.
Right. Well, Duke, let me ask you this. What makes a good cryptid investigator?
What makes a good cryptid investigator? Well, not being an external validator helps a lot, because if you're going to like react to every ridicule that gets thrown at you, you're not going to get very far. You'll give up right away. Also, being dumb enough to ignore people that threaten you, that also keeps you going. Not taking stupid chances when you're actually in the field. If you're going to go to some new place or something, you go in there and you be really careful and scope it out. Maybe you want to bring just more than one person, just you. Have somebody else with you. Make sure you have weaponry. You can get the lay of the land. You don't just walk into some place going, hey, maybe there's Bigfoot here and maybe they're friendly. Maybe it's not Bigfoot there and maybe it's not friendly. Want to check that kind of stuff out. That'll keep you being alive in the field for a lot longer. Take advantage of warning signs. If something's shaking trees at you or roaring at you or something like that, it's time to leave.
What about on an evidential level? What makes a good?
Well, no evidence of any quality is going to be enough to satisfy the sciencey community, so we can just throw them out the window right away. They don't matter in this whole equation. What actually impresses the people that's hypothetically would be on this panel? Well, have you got some good Bigfoot tracks you can show? Did you actually measure them? Did you get track casts from them? Have you got hair samples? Have you got any kind of flesh samples? Have you got tree structures? Have you documented a lot of tree structures? How much of this stuff are you actually measuring? What's the stride length on all those footprints? That kind of stuff. being real stickler about details. Not only there was a track line there, the tracks were 15.5 inches long, and the step length was 5 feet in between them, but it was heading northeast and it was going toward a water source. Little teeny background notes. What time of day was it? What was the weather like? The more excruciating detail you have, the more there is for other actual researchers to look at and find commonalities.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And having an open mind. You have to have that.
Well, that too. I mean, I talked about that. I was in somebody's chat room earlier today, and I was again bringing up what you were saying about how in the UFO community and in the Bigfoot community, if you alter the report in any way, it isn't worth crap anymore. You know, you have just ruined its veracity as a piece of scientific data because you have excluded part of the information that came along with it originally because of your presupposition, and that you don't want this evidence included there because what? It doesn't make you look sciencey, or it doesn't fit your narrative. It doesn't matter. It's part of the data set that came along with it. And if you exclude it, you're not a real researcher and nobody should pay any attention to you.
Is there as much friction in the Bigfoot cryptid community as we are seeing in the UFO community?
It comes and goes. There's periods where there's flare-ups where there's like actual channels fighting with each other, or even channels, banding up with other channels to fight other bands of channels. And it's just ridiculous. It's like a bunch of 5-year-olds in a playground, and they all got their little cliques and they want to go and push the kid over in the corner down in the sand or some ridiculous thing. But, a lot of the people that are doing that aren't actual researchers. They're just clickbait artists. They're out there to make a name for themselves and get a lot of views. They're not really serious about doing anything. Most of the Bigfoot researchers that are for real don't even bother to counterattack when somebody says something bad about them. They just ignore them because, again, they are not external validators. They don't care what you think. They're just going to go out and keep doing the research and gathering the evidence and putting it out there for the people that want to look at it. So a lot of this stuff is caused by elements that are like not actually part of what I would consider the Bigfoot community. And, the sooner they get their butts out and quit annoying everybody, the better, because they're not helping things. It's all a disunifying factor. And it brings me to question how much of this is actually organic and how much of it is being fomented by outside forces that want people to fight with each other and get nowhere.
That's always the scene. But I mean, the flesh and blooders versus the ones who are believing in the woo. I mean,
but see, there's a thing right there, Dave. Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, brother, but this is
go
important.
right ahead.
We
got 1 minute.
There shouldn't be a dichotomy there. Why is there suddenly a line on one side saying we believe in flesh and blood, and the other side saying we believe in the woo? When did it become divided down the middle? Why can't you believe in both?
Great point. And you're right. It shouldn't be an argument whatsoever.
And it's the same thing with there's a giant ape in the woods crowd versus there's some kind of a relic hominid people in the woods. They're lining up on both sides to fight each other and squabble over that. Who cares? They're out there. We need to get information on them. Go out and get it.
Well, I think the big argument on that is we're coming to a close here on this segment. I think the big argument there is, people just don't want to open up their minds to either side. And when you're dealing with a creature that realistically, we don't even know if it truly exists, even though we've seen it. Okay. We don't know what it is. We have no clue. And therefore, you can't jump to conclusions saying you know what it is when you don't. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, one of the best when it comes to breaking down the cryptids. That's why we got him here for the Cryptid Report. We got him till the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Super Duke. Super Duke. We'll be back on the Mighty SOR right after this. You demand, Super Duke.
I got some giant reports, including a recent one from right here in Montana. Giants. But I'm going to go have a super sig here for a second. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Hey, Crave Dog Ollie, how you doing, man? Good to see you. There is drone footage. I've seen helicopter footage of a Sasquatch. There is one out on TikTok right now, Steam Train Mark, but all you see is like the top of a head moving. Hard to see if it's actually a Sasquatch or a person walking through the forest. Super Duke. Super Duke. Mm-hmm. Good times, my man. Good times. All in fun. Hope you guys have all had a great night tonight. I know I have. Been a good show. Been a very good show. Thank you, Asimov. There he is. Number 32 in your program, starting in goal for Team Sweden from Luleå, Lars Jansson. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Still nearly 200 people watching. Hit subscribe, ring that bell if you haven't already. Marquis Williams. Marquis Williams. That was our guest name. Lars, I know that makes you laugh every time. I know that makes you laugh. There he comes. I can hear him. Super Duke. Super Duke. We love our Super Duke.
I can see your comment there, Bomber. It's called Purple Conditioner. Purple.
Isn't it Luleå? Isn't it Luleå, Sweden, or is it Luleå? No, Matthias Olin was from Luleå, Sweden.
Yeah, Brown D, I'm not going to be able to have dreadlocks down to the ground like you have.
It's not Lully. Oh.
Michael, hey.
We have about 45 seconds.
Cool.
Super Duke. Super Duke.
Dave. Super
Dave. My goal this weekend with having some time off is I'm going to change a couple of the themes here, including Super Duke. Ugh, excuse me.
If you actually want me to record a soundbite of saying, "You damn saucer jackies, get off my lawn," I can do that for you.
Oh, yeah. I will need that. So if you want to record it for me, that'd be great. You long-haired hippies from the forest, get off my lawn. Here we go. around in third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Very much appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the Crypted Report from World Bigfoot Radio. Joining us weekly, Super Duke Sullivan, the man, the myth, and the cryptid legend himself. Duke, welcome back.
Hey, everybody. And happy birthday to Pixie Laura in chat, who's at her birthday here in a few minutes. So happy birthday.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. What do you got for us, my man? You always got some interesting stories.
Yeah, this one creeps me out because it's right here where I live instead of way up there in British Columbia where they could plague you all the time. No, I got to be stuck with them here too. So you remember the last time I was on, I was talking about that native tribe that had this appeasement deal with the local giant where they would give him X number of buffalo every so often, and in return he wouldn't eat them. And then they didn't have any buffalo because white man was getting rid of all of them. So they tried to substitute beef cattle, which I'm presuming they were rustling. And apparently he didn't like the beef cattle either. And so he just said, enough of this. There's too many people around here, too many white men moving in. I'm moving to the mountains up north. Now, their presumption, according to their legend, is that there's this other small mountain range just north of there. But if you think about in their terms of movement capacity and what constitutes too close, my guess is that isn't where he went. He went a lot further north and west and probably into the Rocky Mountains. And that's one of the reasons that people keep seeing them up here. Because remember, at that time, buffalo may have been depleted down there, but there was still plenty of them over here. And big mountains with no annoying white man living there yet. So my guess is he came up here. And this could either be a sighting of him or some other relative of his, because this one happened recently here in Montana. The witness said he wouldn't give the exact location, but he said it was about a 2-hour drive from Polson here in Montana. And then when he got to his spot, it was an hour hike in to get to this little river. Now, this guy's a trout fisherman, and he was there to do some trout fishing. And, even though there's a whole lot of river and not a lot of people in Montana, the trout fishermen are kind of weird about making sure nobody else finds their spot because that's the best spot, damn it. So he didn't let anybody know where this was. He went there, and this is during the summer. It was nice and hot. And unfortunately for trout fishing, you don't really want conditions like that. They're cold water fish. So his usual area wasn't very hot. He figured the water was too warm there. So he'd try working his way up river. Maybe there was some cooler water up river where it was, closer to the mountains and yada, yada, yada. So over the course of a couple hours, he worked his way further up river and was fishing all these little holes along the way. And he said the scenery started changing because normally in Montana, the scenery is pretty spectacular anyway. But this started looking like the Lost World. These big craggy rocks and everything had this outsized look to it, like too big for humans to be there. Kind of a lot like what my research area looks like. So I immediately got it when he started talking about that. Like, yeah, we don't look like we're the right scale. Everything else is too big. And he said, then he started getting this creepy feeling, not that something was watching him, but just that he didn't belong there. Just like he was in the wrong place. He was out of place. He shouldn't be there. But he found this nice little pool, and it looked like it would be pretty good there. So he worked his way up past a little bit more. And the river was pretty wide there. And, it got fairly deep. And he had never been up there before. So he waded out as far as he dared, started casting his line. And he was maybe about halfway out in the middle of the river. And he started hearing this noise from behind him. And he turned back and looked over his right shoulder. And over there was this tremendous crashing sound. And the treetops were literally shaking. Not like something was shaking a tree, but like something was walking between them, pushing the trees out of the way. And these are 50, 60-foot trees. So now he's a little alarmed about this. And he starts figuring maybe he should see if he can actually get across the river to the far side of it. But of course, he's never been up here before. So he doesn't know if there's any deep drop-offs or anything. And you got hip waders on. If you get submerged, you get sucked under it, you're going to drown. So he's working his way across as fast as he can actually dare. And right about then, he hears this tremendous crash. He turns back and looks over his shoulder, and there's this thing stepping out from the trees looking at him. And according to his description, he said it looked like a literal giant. It was half as tall as the 50-foot trees it was standing next to. It had a patchwork garment of about a dozen elk skins that had cobbled together, covering it from the waist down. He said it turned and looked at him. Its eyes locked on him. They were the size of pumpkins. And he immediately felt total terror. It opened its mouth and it made a sound that was so loud that it was the only time in his life he could actually feel it. Well, this guy's never been to a Motorhead concert, apparently. But he said it made the noise so loud it shook his chest cavity. And he realized as it was saying it, it was actually saying something that he recognized, but really deep voice and really long and drawn out. And it just said, "Go." It then proceeded to wrench a 2-ton boulder out of the shoreline and tossed it at him. Now, at this point, he was starting to not give a rat's patoot about his $500 fly fishing rod. So he discarded that and just made for shore, hoping that he wouldn't step in a deep depression and get sucked under. Apparently, the boulder missed him by about 30 feet. It hit the bottom, and the shrapnel from the rocks that it broke loose from it sprayed all over him, and he had all kinds of little injuries all over him after he got out of there. Little pieces of rock had cut him up. And he looked back, and it was still looking at him, and it was picking up another boulder. So he beat it up the bank as fast as he could. And as he was going into the tree line, another boulder landed behind him, splattered him with mud. And he ran about 30, 40 feet into the tree line, tripped on a root, and went down on his face. Kind of a, bad time for that to happen. But as it turned out, he got up and immediately looked back as like, "Wouldn't you?" And it wasn't pursuing him. It was turning around, walking back off into the woods again. So at that point, he just hightailed it down the river and went back to his vehicle and was like, "Who am I going to tell about this? Nobody's going to believe me. And if I tell them, they'll just go out and mess with this thing anyway. And it could have killed me, and it didn't. Clearly just wants to be left alone. I think I'm just not going to go back there again. And I'm not going to report this to the police or anybody else." And so that's what happens with most of these reports. These things are happening, but they're so far outside what anybody's willing to believe, nobody will report them.
I believe that. But Duke, a 25-foot creature, like a giant, we're not talking Sasquatch here.
No,
we're talking like
this is a literal
ogre.
giant. Yeah, he said just like out of an old fairy tale or something, just like you would picture out of an old cartoon or fairy tale or something. That's what it looked like. It had the caveman clothes it's stitched together from about a dozen elk hides. And, this kind of stuff is being found. Now, there's another report that I got. This is an older one from the 1930s where they had found, this is in Tennessee, a farmer there had been digging and dug up some ancient stone tools. Well, of course, every so often they dig up ancient stone tools. No big deal. Well, this is two very peculiar ones. One of them was an obsidian dagger, double-edged, 20 inches long. And the other one was a stone axe head. Said stone axe head, most stone axe heads fairly crude. They're only putting one edge on it. This one is double bladed. It had an edge on both sides of it, which is peculiar to start with. And it weighed 60 pounds. Who's using a 60-pound axe head, Dave? That's a little bit outside the range of normal.
Not me, man.
Paul Not Bunyan? Me either. No, yeah, Paul Bunyan. Maybe that was Paul Bunyan's axe. But again, here's this weird anomaly. And then a couple years later, about 4 miles away from there, another farmer was trying to build a pig shed. He had a big chunk of rock that overshot the ground and had a hollow underneath it, and God knows how long that had been there. So it was just kind of convenient because it was part of a roof. So he was just going to extend that a little bit and then let his pigs stay in there. And while he was messing around with it, he started uncovering bones. So he called the local antiquarian, who went and recorded it and took measurements and everything. And first off, all the bones were very peculiar because although it was laid out in the normal fashion of the Native Americans, which is facing toward the east, I guess, the bones they had like some kind of a white powder on them. And as soon as you would touch it, it would just kind of disappear, which was strange. Secondly, they didn't show any sign that the corpse had actually been interred there while there was flesh on it. Even though it was laid out like it had been articulated, there was no sign in the soil of black or brown, which you get from the flesh rotting away. So there was no sign that it ever had any flesh on it. Third thing that was peculiar about it is it was 8 foot 9 inches tall. Fourth thing that was peculiar about it is it had a very strange looking skull with a very big, robust jaw. The skull circumference was 30 inches. That's 2.5 feet around. And the jaw appeared to be fused to the skull, like it wouldn't move up and down. So they couldn't figure that one out either. And it could have been some kind of a calcification or something that occurred later on, but they didn't seem to think so. They thought it just looked like that. So how this thing was ever eating or anything is also just bizarre, you know. So there's these weird reports from all over the place. And then you go to the native legends. And of course, we talked before about Lovelock Cave. Here's the short version of the story from Princess Sarah Winnemucca herself, 1883, Life Among the Paiutes. She says, among the traditions of our people is one of the small tribes of barbarians who used to live along the Humboldt River. It was many hundred years ago. They used to waylay my people and kill and eat them. She's talking about the red-haired giants here. They would dig large holes in our trails at night, and if any of our people traveled at night, which they did, for they were afraid of these barbarous people, they would oftentimes fall into these holes. So they're making pit traps. That tribe would even eat their own dead. Yes, they would even come and dig up our dead after they were buried and would carry them off and eat them. Now and then they would come and make war on my people. They would fight, and as fast as they killed one another on either side, the women would carry off those who were killed. My people say they were very brave. When they were fighting, they would jump up in the air after the arrows that went over their heads and shoot the same arrows back again. My people took some of them into their families, but they could not make them like themselves. So at last they made war on them. The war lasted a long time. Their number was about 2,600. The war lasted 3 years. My people killed them in great numbers, and what few were left went into the thick bush. My people set the bush on fire. This is right above Humboldt Lake. Then they went to work and made tule or bulrush boats and went into Humboldt Lake. Apparently they had like a little floating island out there that they were living on. But they could not live there very long without fire. They were nearly starving. My people were watching them from all around the lake and would kill them as fast as they would come on land. At last one night, they all landed on the east side of the lake and went into a cave near the mountains. It was a horrible place. For my people watched at the mouth of the cave and would kill them as they came out to get water. My people would ask them if they would be like us and not eat people, like coyotes or beasts. They talked the same language, but they would not give up their customs. At last, my people were tired, and they went to work and gathered wood and began to fill up the mouth of the cave. The poor fools in the cave began to pull the wood inside till the cave was full. At last, my people set it on fire. At the same time, they cried out to them, "Will you give up and be like men and not eat people like beasts? Say quick, we'll put out the fire." No answer came from them. My people said they thought the cave must be very deep or far into the mountain. They had never seen the cave, nor known it was there until then. They called out to them as loud as they could, "Will you give up? Say so, or you will all die." But no answer came. Then they all left the place. 10 days later, some went back to see if the fire had gone out. They went back to my third or fifth great-grandfather and told him that they must all be dead. There was such a horrible smell there. The tribe were called people eaters, and after my people had killed them all, the people around us called my tribe Sedokara. It means conqueror. I do not know how we came by the name of Paiutes. It's not an Indian word. I think it's misinterpreted. Sometimes we were called pine nut eaters, for we're the only tribe that lives in the country where the pine nuts grow. My people say the tribe we exterminated had reddish hair. I have some of their hair, which has been handed down from father to son. I have a dress which has been in our family a great many years, trimmed with this reddish hair. She says, I'm going to wear it sometime when I lecture. It's called the morning dress, and no one has such a dress but my family. So there you go, from Princess Winnemucca herself. They had a war with them to kill 2,600 of them.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, the big finale was Lovelock Cave. The war had been going on for 3 years already by then.
That's a lot of flesh and blood. A lot of flesh and blood.
A lot of weird fighting. Another report, interesting report that came from Kentucky was of, and this one is fairly recent. This was back, I want to say 1980s, if I remember right. There's 4 guys out there, and they had a hunting shack out there, and they were going to go hunting. And the first night they got there, the weather was just terrible. So, and it's night, so can't hunt anyway. So they went in the hunting shack, and they cranked up the fireplace, and they're sitting around playing cards and raising a ruckus. And they heard this incredibly loud howl, roaring sound coming from outside. So, of course, being hunters, and they all have 12 gauges, they grabbed all their guns, going running out to see what it was. And it's still raining and lightning and thundering and stuff. And at some point, one of the flashes of lightning, they can see this thing. It's only about 40, 50 feet away from them. It's got white fur. It's about 10 feet tall, and it's standing there looking at them. So, of course, they all shoot it. All of them open up on it at the same time. And there were more lightning flashes going on, so they could see what was happening. Plus, the gunfire, of course, illuminates things. And as they fired at it, they said it didn't fall over dead. It just faded away. And they couldn't believe what they were seeing. But now, completely spooked, they went back into the shack and stayed there for the night. In the morning, they went out to see if they could find any tracks or blood or anything, this weird thing that they shot that just faded away. And when they got back to where it was, there was no blood and there was no tracks, but there was 4 dead pigs there, which had been crushed and had their throats cut.
Incredible.
Now they're getting a little bit spooked, needless to say, although they're tough hunter guys. So they went out and did their hunting thing, and they came back. And that night, again, the weird howling sound. So once again, they went running out to see what it was. Now, this time it wasn't storming and there was starlight, so they could actually see this thing. And they ran up until they got close to it, repeated process with the same result. It just flat out vanished. And again, the next morning they came back to look at the spot. No tracks, no blood, and one more dead, crushed pig with its throat cut. This time they did find a couple tracks. I should correct myself. This time they did find a couple tracks around where this thing was, which they said were gigantic, vaguely human shaped, and they had 3 toes. This is why I say you should always be.
That sounds more like an ogre, man, than a Sasquatch.
Yeah, that could be a Shampe. It could be a Gugwi or something like, Shampe supposedly have abilities like that, so it could have been a Shampe. But so this is why I say you need to be really careful when you're going into a new area. What could be in there? It could be anything. There's always rumors about GMO things that get away from the government too. Those could be wandering around the woods. You don't know what's out there, so take precautions to keep yourself from getting instantly killed or jumped by something, and be aware of where you're at and how to get back out again, so you don't get hopelessly lost. That just helps the monsters.
Oh, I hear you. We got 2.5 minutes to go here. When you take some reports like that, how much stock do you put into them and their historic value, that they're true or not?
It depends on the source. My general rule for any of that stuff is trust but verify. Initially, I'll believe, you're telling me what you witnessed or whatever. That doesn't mean it's necessarily what happened. It's their impression of what happened. Maybe their brain was making them think it was something other than what it actually was. And when people are panicked, they can do that sort of thing. So you always got to take that into account. But in general, if people tell me they saw some really weird thing, I tend to believe them, because I know too many people that have saw these really weird things. And some of them have pictures to prove it too. So it's really hard for me to discount something like that. And a lot of these old reports, especially the ones, the really old ones that match up with the descriptions and stuff of Bigfoot, it's really hard to discount them, because they're talking about things that were not common knowledge until well into the 1960s, that there was any public knowledgeability about there being a Bigfoot or anything like that. Before that, nobody really had any idea about it unless you lived in, British Columbia. So that there were these reports from the early 1800s, even late 1700s, over in the East Coast, of what are obviously identifiable Bigfoot. Where were they getting this from? Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, they both got Bigfoot reports. Everybody seems to have known that these things were real. They were seeing them,
Very true. 1 minute to go, Super Duke. Well, actually, about 1:20 to go. Let everybody know where they can find World Bigfoot Radio.
Well, you can come on over and find me on my favorite place to be is MeWe, no censorship and no stealing your data. And there's some really great people over there. Come on over to that platform. If you're stuck in a rut and you want to be on Facebook, I'm on Montana Bigfoot Project, and World Bigfoot Radio is kind of like just to notify you when I got stuff coming out. Montana Bigfoot Project, go there, give your reports. I have some of the people that are guests on my channel actually work as mods over there because they're freaking amazing. And they can take your reports and tell you what's going on too, just as well as I can. And you can find my show on YouTube, Brady on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey for all the video platforms. And I'm looking at actually establishing a foothold on Twitter here pretty soon too. So there you go.
I appreciate you, my man. It's always a good time with you here, Super Duke, on Spaced Out Radio. And we will talk to you in a couple of nights' time.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure I got something good and riveting for Thursday, the last report of the year. Maybe I'll try and find what I think is the best report of the year, and I'll give you that one on Thursday. How's that sound?
That sounds perfect, my man.
Okay.
That sounds perfect. That's why we
love you
appreciate
guys.
you around
love
here.
you, Dave. Take care.
Love
everybody.
you too, my man. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio once again. Make sure you check out his channel on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute. Thank you to Swamp Dweller and to Marquis Williams for being just a real special guest tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elgap, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That's good stuff. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. Download that. Close that up. Put that there. Super Duke. Super Duke. That was a good show tonight, guys. Very good show. Very good show. Yes. 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 Close that up. Let's move this over here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to try something here. Where's my channel? Oh, there we go. So it was my channel. It was me. It was me. All right. Love V Love and Pixie Lara. This is for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Love and Lara. Happy birthday to you. And many more. There you go, ladies. Read it and weep. Asuka Langley. Welcome to SOR Chat. Now, the question is Asuka from Langley? And which Langley are we talking about? Bombshell, I promise you I will sing for you next year. Just remind me. Here from Belgab. How you doing, man? What's happening? Belgab's still going? I didn't know Belgab was still going. Oh, Eric Langley, another Langley. Two different Langleys? Cool to have you here. Welcome. I will, Tracy. I'll try and take a look at that. Oh, you're a Spookles the Cat fan. Are you from Elgab or Belgab? Does that begin right there? I think so. Mooney, where in BC are you? I always thought you were like in the prairies by Prairie Fire. Oh, you're way up north. How's your winter doing up there? We like I'm literally seeing lawn. We've had like a heat wave the last 2 days. You're past Prince George? Hey, Evan Walters, you're pissing me off because you're leaving. I'm gonna admit it. I miss it when Evan Walters used to enter the room telling me I was pissing him off and everybody was pissing him off. I miss that. I do. Dave, what's the most people you've had in a chat? Luis Elizondo, 455. Grant Cameron is second. Well, Patrick, how you doing, buddy? You working the late shift tonight, Noble Patrick? David Politis. That's an interesting topic because I really like him. I was on the phone with his PR people this year, last week, trying to line him up for a show because they had contacted me about his new documentary. But David is no longer doing radio shows or podcasts or YouTube channels because he doesn't feel that he gets enough book sales from our type of programming. So he is the only radio show that I know of that he'll go on is Coast to Coast AM with George Knapp, not George Norrie, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, and one or two other bigger named podcast hosts out there, and that is it. You will not see him in our field very much at all. So I tried, but and his PR person is continuing to try, but don't count on it. Don't count on hearing him for a while. Gemma Jackson, good morning to you. Oh, excuse me, guys. I wouldn't say David Politis has sold out as much as I would say that he looks at the statistics of where his how many books he sells within the next few days after giving an interview. And if the averages aren't there, he doesn't go back. You guys can be upset all you want. You can be upset all you want. I'm just here to tell you the truth about what's going on. Good night, Jordan Ashley Pennant. Joe, why aren't the body panels of electric cars made of solar panels? That's a question for Science Bob. You would think at least the hood and the roof would be. Thank you, my brother Eugene. I love you, man. Yeah, I hate to be the bearer of that news because I was really looking forward to getting David back on the show. And I even told his agent that. And he's like, David ain't you personally. He just has no use for going on anything to do with the UFO world or podcasts. Oh, okay. That's his choice. I would never get an electric vehicle. That's just my opinion. Tomorrow night on the show, Steve Stockton from Missing Persons Mysteries will be back to talk about some of the strangest cases of 2022. That's going to be a fun show. I'm hungry. I would love one, Lara. I would love one. Thank you for thinking of me. All right, we are uploaded complete. I'm going to say a big thank you tonight to Dry Toast, Deb ×3, Louie ×3, Human Carl, Steve, Susie, Pam H, and Cat Chaser for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love, everybody. Tomorrow night, Steve Stockton, Missing Persons Mysteries, best cases of 2022. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you tomorrow night. And much love to you all. See you later.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.